Hey everyone, hope you all are doing well tonight. Should be a pretty good show. Got some stuff downloading and stuff. It's actually not ready to go, unfortunately, but I'm going to throw the link in the chat here in a little bit as we get started and stuff. So yeah, we're going to continue with the Native American misconception of various monsters and spirits and ghosts, like monsters and stuff, and with names that get associated with or get put into a list of Bigfoot names and Native American myth and legends, because all the tribes supposedly have the names for Bigfoot in their tribe that are very common to find, which is not true. It's actually the opposite. It's actually kind of hard to find the exact names for and to hear the tribe say, yeah, this means Bigfoot, the specific name of this entity, instead of grouping it together with Wendigos and other stuff like or like Gugways and stuff. Gugways and stuff sometimes get associated with Sasquatch. Also, a lot of people do note that they are of a different species or so, or they're more aggressive type of Sasquatch. So some people think they are a totally different type of species, or some people would acknowledge that they are a different type of monster entity altogether. It is actually commonly, we get you guys so you guys can see. All right, so you have the Gugways right here, the alternate spelling, Gugways with a K. Gugways, 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 Gookways. It is a kind of man-eating ogre from the Micmac. Definitely have not heard that one before. Indian folklore, the Gugways which is how that's spelled over there. I know there's several different tribes, obviously, that spell it differently. Are greedy, hairy, right? That's the key thing right here. Are hairy, so that makes them, man-eating ogres, which they're giant. So they must be Bigfoot because it's hairy. But they are greedy, hairy, and sometimes described as having bear-like heads, right? Kind of squatch-like. The name Cookways is a derivative of form of Gook-oo, giant. So Gookways literally means something similar to little giant. Little is relative though. Gooku, usually spelled Gookoos with a G, is sometimes described as being taller than the highest pine trees, which would make her, meaning a female in the stories, at least 150 feet tall if she's as tall as the highest pine trees. And Gookways are usually described as around 20 feet to 30 feet tall, large enough to carry children in sacks and stuff. So about twice as tall or 3 times as tall as normal Sasquatch and stuff, what we consider Sasquatch, right? But these legends and stuff gets mixed in. Like you hear it all the time. The Gookways are, just more evil Sasquatches that are nefarious and sinister, and they have a. I've heard them described as they have a little bit different skeletal structure on their bone structure, as if you would have real observation to even tell those things and stuff. But in this legend and stuff, they're describing them as 20 feet, 30 feet tall, which are the little ones, to 150 feet tall, which I don't think we have reports of Bigfoot's that tall in modern times, right? Uh, but interesting enough, though, they do describe some of these giants and other cannibals. I know in the Southwest tribes, we can maybe try to find and look up, but I've seen on TV programs and stuff of natives talking about the giants that had double rows of teeth, kind of, and six digits on their fingers, kind of like Nephilim giants of the old. A story of a Gookways. I don't know if it's gonna. Okay. Story of Gookways. This version of the legend comes from the C.L.S. Rand's 1894 collections of Legends of the Micmacs. So that would be a book that you guys can read and check out. So let's read this real quick. I'll throw the link out as we get some of these other videos downloaded and stuff. So wasn't able to do it the normal way, so I have to download it pretty much through the cloud and download it to the computer off my phone and all that. So let me read this, and I'll put the link in chat, and we'll probably read some other stories that people associate with Bigfoot, but clearly are describing something else. All right, so some little boys were out hunting. A Gookways giant was prowling around, watching for his prey, hunting for people. In order to attract the boys, he imitated the noise of the cock-petered partridge, the drummer. This he did by slapping the palms of his hands upon his breast. The little boys heard the noise. They deceived by it. The little boys heard the noise, were deceived by it, and fell into the trap. The huge giant, the giants are amazingly strong, was a cannibal and covered with hair like a regular gorilla. He seized the boys and intended to dash their heads against a stone, but he mistook an anthill for a stone, so he merely stunned all of them except one, who was killed. The giant then placed them all in a huge bakuku birchen vessel, strapped into his back, and started for home. The boys soon recovered and began to speculate upon their chances for escape. It certainly must have seemed rather a hopeless undertaking, but we will never know what we can do until we try. One of the boys had a knife with him, and it was agreed that he should cut a hole through the birchen basket, and that they should jump out one after another and scud for home in order not to awaken in order to not awaken suspicion. They waited until they heard the limbs rattling on the bark basket, as the giant passed under the trees before the process of cutting commenced. As soon as the hole was large enough, one slipped out, another and another, until all were gone but the dead one. The giant was so strong that he never perceived the difference of weight of his load. When he arrived home, he had left his load outside and went into his wigwam, right into his house, where he had uh, where he had a comrade waiting for him, to whom he had communicated his good success. On opening the cage, the birds had flown, all but one. Tuku Sugu Ba Ishki. They perceived to roast the prey by impaling him on a stick and placing him before a hot fire. Then they sat down by the fire to watch and wait until he was cooked. The giant using a fire, cooking the kid. The children soon reached their home and spread the alarm. A number of the men, armed with hot haste, and pursued the giant. Before the meal was cooked, they reached the place. Whiz came an arrow and struck the side of the giant, who had carried off the children. He had made a slight movement and complained of a stitch in the side. Soon another arrow followed, and another, but so silently and so swiftly that neither perceived what they were. The fellow fell slowly over, as though falling asleep, and his companion rallied him on being so sleepy and going to sleep before his tender morsel had been tasted. Soon he also began to be troubled. Sharp pains began to shoot through him as the arrows pierced him. He also fell dead. The above story was related to me by Peter Tony, an illustration of the stupidity as well as the physical strength of the giants. It will be observed how in this they resemble their brethren of the European fiction, those that are renowned Jack slew. Some of them were remarkably stupid, the Welsh giants, for instance. And that is a tale, of course, depicting, what some people would say what is Bigfoot, because it is a hairy, kind of like a gorilla. But it does talk about using tools like a birchen vessel or a basket to throw kids in, and going back to its home, which would be a wigwam, which would be a Native American Anishinaabe style teepee bark wigwam style. It's not really a teepee style where it's like this, but it's more of a dome with wood structure, and all you have to do is Google wigwams and stuff. So, and using fire and impaling and cooking the kid on the fire and stuff, and communicating with the companion and stuff, and being so stupid that they didn't realize they were being shot with arrows until they died. So, is that Bigfoot, or is this a misconception that we stereotype into the Bigfoot category? But are there any real indicators of that particular story, of any of those stories that would indicate that these are Bigfoot stories and stuff, and not something else? All right, so here is recommended books on related Native American legends. I'm sure that you could find these on Amazon and stuff. Let's just go right here. And I'm sure it will take us to Amazon on the trail of Elder Brother, Glooskap, Stories of the Micmac Indians. Native American tales about the Glooskap, an Algonquin hero, presented for the first time in a comprehensive cycle, retold and illustrated by Native American authors. And that is actually pretty sweet. The Glooskap Stories of the Micmac Indians on the trail of Elder Brother. Retold by Michael B. Running Wolf, Micmac Nation, and Patrick Clark Smith. Stories of the Glooskaps and the embodiment of the Great Spirit are told by many American Algonquin tribes of the North America, from the Dakotas through New England and south to Delaware. Among them is the Micmac of Maine, Quebec, and the maritime provinces. Since the 17th century, anthropologists have listened to Micmac storytellers and recorded their tales. Finally, here is a book devoted entirely to Glooskap's adventures, told to us firsthand in the traditional Micmac versions by two Micmac authors. So this is, we read the story of Nanajobo and stuff, and how the name is changed to Nanajobo and Wanajobo. And I'm pretty sure that these are obviously a part of the Algonquin tribes, and these are from the Maine, Quebec area and stuff, right? And I'm pretty sure that they are referring to the same hero as Nano Jobo, but they call him a slightly different name because Gosugup helps shape it and populate it with creatures and plants. He teaches his people right to live. He battles the monsters who threaten him, a water hoarding monster, fearsome like there's, yeah. I want to say that they're talking about the same cultural hero, which is the Algonquin cultural hero that they all pretty much are talking about in the different cultures and stuff, but they just call them different names, like Nano Jobo or with a W Wana Jobo, and there's slightly a bunch of other ones, and I believe they're talking about the same one and stuff. But so this would be a variance because this is for the Micmac storytelling and tradition and stuff. So, which is it's all fascinating stuff because they're all talking about pretty much the same guy, the Algonquin hero, and how the Earth was formed. And I'm sure they actually have their probably 7 teachings that they talk about. Very, very cool stuff. And you never know if you actually got that book and read it, what actually cool stuff would be in there. All right, so here's another one: Giants of the Dawnland, ancient Wanabeki. I'm probably butchering the names of native stuff because just because it's spelled a certain way doesn't mean it's pronounced that way, but most of the time it does. All right, so native people arrived in Maine at the end of the last ice age around 13,000 years ago. They came in small family groups and survived unimaginable cold winters and animals such as the giant beaver and cave bear. Unfortunately, they had their great god, Gaspigup, who slowly melted the ice and rivers. Let me go back for a second. Glooskap. Glooskap. I wonder if that's the same. I wonder if they're talking about the same character stuff. It's almost spelled the same. Although he is referred to as a god and not a cultural hero. Sorry about that. It's just some of these names and all these. It's very relatable and stuff. So sometimes it's interesting. Anyways, um, fortunately, they had their great god Guskep, who slowly melted the ice and rid the woods of terrifying serpents. But he was also a liar and a big tease. It was a time when people, animals, and stones were equal, when Glooskap could be as large as a mountain or as small as a mouse. When the star people traveled to the treetops, slowly things started to change. The tribes squabbled, and Glooskap hated jealousy. It was Minten when that people and animals needed inner strength. The stories instructed people in the ways of hunting, the lores of plants, and the skills they needed every day. There's still much need for us to learn about Maine as the next great climate change approaches, and we will we hurt the land with our jealousy and greed, or will we learn to be alone and appreciate the magic of every stone? Native American storytellers who still remember the tales 12 centuries later include them in that we're jumping around and getting bogged down on reading that particular book and all this. Let's go jump over here real quick and put the link in chat, because maybe there's a particular Native American tribe or story that you guys want to hear talk about. We're also going to share some more videos of the Sabe from elders who and you can talk about whatever you want. If you want to be a open discussion, you guys can talk about something else that you might have regarding maybe evidence or whatever. All right, let's go to sharp elbows or um true tiger. Oh, that's a pretty interesting name. Never Two Faces. Two Faces is a Native American misconception that gets put into the Bigfoot category. And this was in the Kathy Strain book. This was in several other people have put it in the Bigfoot category. When Two Faces is not Bigfoot related and stuff. So Two Faces tribe affiliation is the Omaha, the Sioux, and the Cheyenne. And the native names for Two Face are, good luck in trying on to say all that. We see the name variants and stuff. So you have the HEST, and then there's variations of that, and then you have ANUT, ANOG, ANUK, and then you have ANUK, different spelling, and then it gets over to WN, the Unuk, it, Win, and then you have the Win and Nip for the Sioux. And you see how the names, even though they are different, there's like a variation of the telephone game. So like they are talking about the same thing, even though it's like slightly spelled differently, and the pronunciation would be slightly different from these tribes. But they are still have root words in lettering that go along with the same creature that they are talking about, even though it's slightly different tribes from the Omaha, the Sioux, and the Cheyenne. Also known as double face, sharp elbows, which is the other name that we could go back to. Two faces, two-faced people, two-faced one, two-face, two faces, two faces, of course. He's related to sharp elbows of the Iwoi and the red woman of the Crow, and Headless Man of the Wichita. So we can go and read those after this little bit. Two-Face is a malevolent humanoid monster of the plains native tribes. In sub-tribes, Two-Faces are described as ogres, but are most often the Two-Face resembles a human except for having a second face on the back side of his head or his or her head. If people make eye contact with the second face, they will either be struck dead or paralyzed with fear until the Two-Face returns to murder them. In some traditions, there is only one Two-Face female. In some tribes, a female in some tribes and male in others, while other traditions suggest that a whole race of Two-Faces. The misdeeds of Two-Face range from murdering and mutilating people to cannibalism to kidnapping and even just frightening, misbehaving children. In some Sioux legends, double-faced women is to blame for childhood fits and night terrors. In Omaha mythology, it is a Two-Face who kills the pregnant mother of the twin heroes. So is that Bigfoot? Is that because this is put on the list as Bigfoot, right? But is it? I don't think so. I mean, how could you say it? So how's my audio? Am I cutting in and out? Does it look like or I'm doing pretty good and stuff? Because if my audio is cutting out, I can switch to use my phone for the audio, and then have the display set up for this. But it looks like it's good on my end, so I know we've had some issues, like every other live stream, it seems like. So Two-Face is put on the list of Bigfoot in Native American culture because, it's the stereotype of, oh yeah, when the Omaha are talking about Two-Face, they mean Bigfoot, and it's clearly not. It's the only, you know, are described as ogres, and I'm sure some people think, oh well, that they're talking about an ugly Bigfoot, right? Even though it said there's a second face on the backside of his or her head, and making eye contact with the second face will, cause immediate death or paralysis with fear, or some type of magical stuff going on, is what they would probably say. And if we, of course, Two-Face and the twins, the Omaha story about the Two-Face that kills the pregnant woman whose twins survive and avenge her. Might be a pretty interesting story. Recommended books. When the Canoe Howls, Native American Tales of Terror. Of course, we can see when this was published, published January 1st, 1998. A collection of tales about giants, monsters, and spirits from Native American tribes, such as the Scenic, the Mohawk, and the Lipi tribes. And so you have right here is the illustration of what? Is that supposed to be Bigfoot, or is that supposed to be a representation of the Canoe cannibal giant, hairy giant, and stuff? And it is sometimes hard to distinguish, like, when they're using terms as hairy and giant or ogre. A lot of people are. All right, thanks, Robert. I appreciate that. A lot of people, would say, "Oh, well, that's describing Bigfoot because of those characteristics." But there's a lot of things in the woods that are, hairy and fur covered. So But and when it comes to Sasquatch and stuff, are Sasquatch is the same as Yetis on different continents and stuff, or are they different creatures and stuff, right? So when these Native American tribes are distinguishing and talking about cannibal giants and stuff, and then they're talking, like Wendigos and ice giants and more magical stuff, and some of these creatures have magical powers and live in wigwams and use fire and Native American tools, or are basically just are Native Americans, but they are monstrous. And then some tribes would talk about these cannibal giants or the Wendigos and stuff, and they would also talk about Gichisabe and Sabe, which would be a representation of honesty, who taught the young boy honesty. And we played some of the videos on the last live stream that you can check out, and we're going to play some more here in a second if it's finally done loading up. Taking a lot longer than I was thinking, that is for sure. Hmm. Well, I'm not sure what happened there. It was about to be done downloading and now it's restarted, so that is okay. Because we'll try to look at something else. Do some other stuff real quick while we all right, sorry about that. I had to get off this, checked something, and go grab my other phone and see if I could. But that's not it's not charged or anything, so I should have figured that. That's okay. I'm gonna try to. I can get some other stuff to. Well, I guess I just could do this. It's just gonna take me a minute, but in the meantime, let me go check StreamYard, see if someone came in. The link is in the chat if someone wants to come on to discuss some Native American stuff or anything about Bigfoot or cryptid related. It doesn't have to be Bigfoot in and of itself. There are plenty of other cryptid creatures like water babies and from the Native American tribes and stuff. And there are some serpent monsters like the Iroquois snake monster, undead monsters, a whole host of stuff. So let's check out Red Women because that was another one that was associated with the I think it was Two Face. All right, so this is tribe affiliations from the Crow, and these are the different names, which is pretty hard to he, she, ta, we, he, sha, tia, we. Red Woman is an ogress from Crow folklore. Although she is sometimes identified as a cannibal, in many legends, she is a malevolent monster who kills just for the sake of killing. sometimes mutilating her victims in horrible ways. In some stories, she used witchcraft to hypnotize people or affect their minds. But she's associated with Bigfoot because, well, she's like an ogre. So she's, a giant ogre. And, maybe some of these stories she's presented as hairy and, she's a cannibal. And, it fits the narrative of, well, we need Bigfoot and, easy to find Bigfoot names and stories in all Native American legends. But if Red Woman is an ogress who is described as using witchcraft to hypnotize people, and do we believe that Bigfoot is using witchcraft to hypnotize people? Or is this some other type of entity that they are talking about? And we can check out some books. Myth and Traditions of the Crow Indians, Sources of American Indian Oral Literature. Paperback, September 1st, 1993. 1907, anthropologist Robert H. Louis visited the Crow Indians at their reservation in Montana. He listened to the tales that for many generations had been told around campfires in winter, vivid tales of Old Man Coyote and his various guises, heroic accounts of Lodge Boy and the Thunderbirds, and supernatural stories about Ravenface and the spurned lover, and other tales involving the Bear Woman and the offended turtle and the skeptical husband, and all these were recorded by Louis, originally published in 1918. So that actually might be a pretty sweet book to check out and stuff, involving some of these Native American stories. And of course, Bear Woman, well, obviously must be Bigfoot, right? Or is it something else? If you actually read the story and figure out the details, and if it's actually Sasquatch-like or completely separate entity, or typically a lot of those stories have meaning and lessons to be learned, and all that. Yeah, she's a man eater. Yeah. And the Crow legend about Red Woman murdering a pregnant woman, which is kind of like two-faced, right? Murdering a pregnant woman, and then the kids avenge her. And then this story from a different tribe, right? But they're talking about kind of the same entity, although it's Red Woman kills a pregnant woman, which is kind of fascinating. And then let's go back over to Two Faces, right? Da, 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 da. Two Faces, the almost story about Two Face that kills a pregnant woman whose twins survive and avenge her. It's very interesting. Of course, related to figures is the Red Woman, the Headless Man. And let's go to Sharp Elbows. Tribe affiliation is the Iowa, the Otu, I don't know, the Winnebago. I'm not really I see in my defense, I'm really not too affiliated with a lot of different tribes that are not of the Anishinaabe. Basically the Great Lakes and northern Midwest tribes. When you get into some of the plains and the southern west, southwest, and all the other tribes, basically, I'm not so familiar with how to pronounce their names and such. Sharp Elbows is a malevolent humanoid monster of the Chiwer and the Winnebago tribes. He resembles a man, but with long bone spikes protruding from his elbows. Classical Bigfoot description, right? Which he uses to stab people to death. Well, obviously, that was obviously coming. In some stories, he also has a second face on the back of his head, like two faces, like the Sua's double face. In some stories, Two Face is a predator who eats humans, but in most, he is an evil being who kills simply for the sake of killing, like Red Woman, frequently targeting women and children. Um, Two Face stories. A story about kills a pregnant woman, of course. Uh, Ho Chuck, the Winnebago story about the cultural hero Hare killing his great uncle, a Sharp Elbows. Now, a Sharp Elbows would be very interesting to actually come across and have sightings of in film, right? Some big beast with bones protruding out of his elbows that's trying to stab you while you're trying to film it. That would be very awesome to try to film, right? Is that to describe a Bigfoot? I would probably say no, right? But the name is put on the lists in some of these, like Kathy Strain's book. I've not read Kathy Strain's book, but she had 75% of the names that Trade the Explorer, or she had 75% of the stories that Trade the Explorer read. And out of all of his, uh, uh, which is basically the same as this one, out of all the Native American stories, which he read 170 Native American stories, he found that about 17 were Bigfoot enough from his criteria to be considered Bigfoot. And out of this actual Native American resource information, out of about 200 ish tribes and different tribal information, to about 200 different tribes and legends and different information about how to actually learn these tribal languages on this website. This website practically has everything. There are here is the list, uh, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, give or take. I might have slipped and missed one. 28 that they would associate with Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot enough. And this actually is, and we've read this the first time, but so intense is the fascination that some Bigfoot enthusiasts seem to have labeled just about every mythological creature ever known in the Western Hemisphere as another name for Sasquatch. And this fascinating thing about this is this website and this page is pretty old, and it's just hilarious that we take everything as being Bigfoot, and it's not. It's simply not. Of course, if we interpret the English word Bigfoot to only refer to creatures like Sasquatch, wild, hairy men of the forest that are hairy, human sized or slightly taller, then here is our list of Native American big feet. Note that most of these legends are told by tribes of the Pacific Northwest region, commonly. Northern California, Western Oregon, and Washington State, and British Columbia, Alaska, and the Yukon. There are also many stories involving wild, hairy men of the forest in the plains and woodland tribes of the U.S., which would be Algonquin, of the woodland tribes. But most of these are forest dwarfs or pukwudgies or paishas, no taller than a human toddler. which you can find these stories about Native American little people. They have a they have they have many similarities to Bigfoot creatures except for their size. And some people would say, well, those are the just juvenile Bigfoot, obviously, because I mean, they look enough like Bigfoot except for their size. So obviously they're just little Bigfoot who are not growing up. But it honestly is it's if you take the tribes and what they actually are talking about, they are saying these are little people, these are different creatures, and these Bigfoot creatures are giant cannibal red woman or two-faced creatures is different than Bigfoot. The issue is what I'm finding with like Algonquin and stuff is when they talk about Bigfoot and the tribes and the Ojibwe will say Bigfoot. It's very, it's under religious and sacred stories and teachings and stuff. It is not. He's not depicted as a evil cannibal giant, but in some of the stories that we read, the one Bugajawinian, which is Wild Man, who spoke to the Nanajubo cultural hero thousands of years ago, he said that his people, or they were a people that were going to be different, and describes them not to live in towns. And but if there are people and stuff, then some people are good, some people are bad, and I'm sure they have a code of conduct like the seven sacred laws or the seven sacred teachings or the seven grandfather teachings, which we're going to get into. Maybe they have the Bugajawinians have the same stuff that they live by, but some people are both good and bad and stuff. So I wouldn't. I don't know about that. I would say that some of these giants and some of these stories where they're talking about giants that are 150 feet tall, or some giants that have six digits and double rows of teeth in Native American folklore. In the Southwest cultures, they talk about six digit giants and stuff that would eat people. Now, those are not described as Bigfoot, but they were described as giants and six digits, and it reminds us of the description of some of the Nephilim features, and the whole giants. There's a very good YouTube documentary. It's actually called "Giants, Friend or Foe." And there's a couple other ones of Native American giants, of Spanish conquistadors encountering giant 20-foot tall Native Americans who were 20-foot tall giants, but they were Native Americans and chiefs. And there was actually a great battle. I'll have to, we'll do a different show actually, and I'll show some of the stuff and talk about it. But there's actually a battle with conquistadors and a Native American chief who was a giant, and his son who was a giant, and 20 feet tall. But they were described as totally human, not monstrous, not Bigfoot-like. So there's a lot of things going on and stuff. You can't just lump everything together into the Bigfoot category, because that is just disingenuous. It's not honest to the Native American culture and the stories that you read about. All right, so let's so yeah, so we went over some of these and stuff as we clicked and stuff. So the Bogues from the Bella Coopa Bigfoot, or the Bella Coopa tribe, is very famous Bigfoot stories and tribes that is usually associated with Bigfoot in the specific Northwest and stuff. And some of these pages have are gone, not put up and stuff, but the Sasquatch. or Sasquatch, or Sasquatch, Scotch. Because Sasquatch is the English translation of these words. Sasquatch. Sasquatch is the most famous legendary Bigfoot creature, according to the Holcomb and other Coast Salish traditions. Sasquatch was a powerful but generally benign supernatural creature in the shape of a very large, hairy wild man. Its Hokomelon name is pronounced similar to Sesket. Sesket. I believe Thomas Steenberg is a real good person who's able to pronounce some of these words in the proper way. So, of course, that book is not available. Let's see if they have these. That is not available because that link is over a decade years old. But if you wanted to look at this, I'm sure you could copy and paste that and find some different stories. And there's more websites and different stuff. Unfortunately, this website is getting to the point where eventually I'm sure it will be a time where I come to this place and it won't be here anymore. um, of course, the Skookum from the Chinook Indians is very commonly referred to as Bigfoot ones, and they are, of course, the cannibal giants of Skookum Mountain or Skookum Valley, and they were cannibals, and they would eat the Indians, and they were described as hairy Bigfoots that would not so nice and stuff. Definitely different from Gitchi Sabe, who would talk to the native person in the story and tell and bestow knowledge and stuff. So you have a lot of different stuff. Of course, one more mythological creature that deserves special mention is the Buckwaz. Of course, of the Kakui and other northwest coast tribes, the Buckwaz are not truly Bigfoot figures because, as we'll read, actually can look at them, but bears enough of resemblance to them, man-sized and covered with tangled hair, that he is often identified this way. The big difference, of course, is which is often missed by casual folklore, and maybe some of these people who use the Buckwaz as their name for Bigfoot. It's actually an undead monster. It's a ghost of They're ghosts of drowned people. Their bodies are depicted as stylized skeletons, and they spend their time trying to trick humans into becoming ghosts by offering them ghost food or the food of the dead to eat. In this regard, they are significantly different than other Bigfoot-like creatures. And also, Buckwaz, uh, you know, for anyone using, like the Buckwaz crew, they are it's an undead entity who lives in an invisible hut or invisible house in the woods and tricks people into eating food to turn into Buckwaz or drowned spirits, or the the spirits of the drowned congregate at his invisible house in the woods and stuff. So very hard to associate Buckwaz with a Bigfoot like creature other than it's a hairy humanoid creature. And I believe the Native American folklore is sometimes they have dances and stuff. I believe they have some mask of the Buckwaz, and it's a hairy humanoid looking thing. And of course, they have some people in our community that have gravitated towards that stuff and have claimed that it's Bigfoot. But I guess that's a Bigfoot who lives in an invisible house and is a ghost and takes the ghost of dead people to like the afterlife too, hangs out with ghosts, tricks you into eating ghost food, dead food, and turns you into one of those things. So Lockbeard says, my tribe, the Choctaw, has a story about a war with the Bigfoot, and our guy was said to be a very large man, but do not believe ridiculous claims. Yeah, it was at the Choctaw War of the Bigfoots of from like 18 whatever, with a bunch with guns and stuff used. I don't think that story is legitimate from if that's what you're saying too, if that's the story you're talking about. And also, I think a lot of people have looked into that, and it's kind of more, yeah, the more modern, the Choctaw Bigfoot War, and that's kind of a more modern spin on what they want to make, what they want and stuff. So yeah, it's I'm pretty sure that's just made up and stuff because is there's really no record from like that time period. I'm pretty sure it all comes from. Yeah, and I'm sure other tribe members and elders would probably say the same thing because they would actually have the real stories and stuff, not some white Bigfoot researcher people who are like, yeah, no, a lot of these stories would be held on to by the tribes and by these elders and only get told by permission. So let me check some stuff. So maybe that video will be. Yeah, it's fine. Let the Monsters In with Ryan Timbley. Is it? I believe you're on my Facebook and stuff. I believe I'm not sure if your last name's the same, but you're always talking about the Wendigos, and you just gave a just spoke at a conference today. Are you the same person? If so, you do anyways, you'll catch a lot. Let the Monsters In with Ryan says you'll catch a lot of flack. You'll catch a lot of flack if you speak out against the Choctaw War with Bigfoot. I've pointed out the articles specifically say written for the internet and shouldn't be ignored. Yeah, I thought that was you. It sounded like looked like your last name was very familiar and stuff. And I'd like to actually have you on the show one of these times. You can talk about Native American misconceptions and stuff, but also your own research on Native American stories and maybe not only on Bigfoot but on the Dogman stuff or Rougarou stuff, which is not really a Native American term, but um, I know you're talking about the Rougarous. You're talking about I think werewolves and all the recent stuff that you've been doing stuff. Because it is very fascinating and it's right on the money too, and it's all the stuff that it's every time I see your postings and stuff, I definitely am agreeing with the stuff that you're writing because it is pretty much spot on. And I had to wonder if you're actually, using the same website as this, and because some of the stuff on this website is saying the same stuff, and I'd have to say this website is definitely does a great job of keeping it real with Native American information. It doesn't have everything because some of the stories with like the Algonquin and the Sabe, it doesn't really have Sabe stories on here, but it does have the different. I mean, you have to look and stuff like so. It's not in the Bigfoot category, but if you look at the different stories of the cultural heroes, and you look at the different stories and different links, we find the story of the book that I read of the Native American cultural hero who travels to the West Coast and encounters a Bigfoot who basically mind speaks to him and tells him and instills upon knowledge and answers some of his questions about creation, and tells him that his people are different and that they will not seek companionship from not only the Native Americans but all people, basically, and that most will not believe him. And we'll probably look at that section again because it's very fascinating that the elders put the book out and put this information and said it was Sasquatch. And the words that the Budget is quoted as saying is, uh, you know, supposed to be speaking to future generations and stuff. So it's very fascinating that we're trying to study Bigfoot, and some of the native tribes, they get really when you talk about Bigfoot and stuff, they are have very sacred religious stories about Bigfoot that they don't like sharing because they are not to be associated with like the Red Woman or Two Face, or some of these other uh, evil entities where this would be a more a good entity, a worker of the creator himself, actually. All right, so let's jump around and stuff. I got one video that I am about to get ready to sew up that we showed a little bit a couple episodes ago, but I'm going to show it again. Talking about Sabe, and then we'll get into another Sabe and the seven grandfather teachings. I don't know if we'll probably watch it. I don't know all of it. It's about 7 minutes long, but we'll probably get to the part where it's talking about Bigfoot and stuff, and it's coming from the same Ojibwe tribe that we have listened to the last episode and stuff. We showcase a lot of their videos, and I uh, all the information and stuff they use and stuff is amazing stuff. So you can check that out. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. I'm trying to just get this done. Alrighty, so let's do this, and we'll download this one, and then we'll do that, and then we'll look at the big one, and we'll look at the seven grandfather teachings. I tried to find a video of the prophecy of seven fires, but I think I'm just gonna have to read that to you guys. Because it's very fascinating, and it does. I think you guys will find that it is the prophecy of seven fires. Of course, comes from the Algonquin Anishinaabe tribes. The same with the seven grandfather teachings that we're going to listen to. It talk the seven prophecy of seven fires actually talks about the Native American migration and the encounter with white people and the fork in the road that and choices that were going to happen with the conflict in Native Americans. Of course, they are the good path and the bad path, and we in our timeline actually now have a similar path to choose, and the fate of the world is actually going to come from that choice. It's kind of interesting that these prophecies are thousands of years old, and yet they talk about stuff that seems more relatable than modern times and how it ever could in thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. So that's why I think it's so fascinating. I probably always gravitated towards that. So I've always been fascinated with the Anishinaabe Algonquin tribes. mainly the Potawatomi, and of course the Ojibwe and the Ottawa. Mainly, and then of course they have the Cree, the Algonquin, the Micmac, and probably missing one or two. All right, so let's stop doing this and let's present something else. Let's read some of these catch ups to some of these comments. Yes, definitely have to set something up, Ryan, where you can jump on and the link is in the chat. If you want to come on now, we can talk about Native American misconceptions. I'm about to show some videos about Sabe and stuff, so it's switching segments a little bit. We're going to be talking about that, but if you want to jump on after that, talk about Native American misconceptions, or I know you've been busy today, we can set up for next Saturday or the other Saturday, or if you have a different day that works better, not Saturdays isn't the best, you can contact me, obviously on Facebook, and we can set something up. Yeah, it was Joshua LaFleur, who's the namesake of LaFleur County where I reside. Yeah, didn't he? Wasn't he the main character of the story or something? And of course, the another misconception: Rougarou is definitely not a Blackfeet foot term or a Ojibwe term or a Cree term, because a lot of those tribes are right there from the Dakotas and the western edge of the Anishinaabe Range, which would be the Ojibwe, the Cree. And Rougarou is from the Native Americans pronouncing the French word werewolf, which was lupus guru, loup guru. And it's when they said that word, it said Rougarou. And then the French and modern people, of course, associated the French werewolf stories with the Wendigo stories and some of the other entities and shapeshifter stories and the witchcraft stories, and they blended them together and they slapped the Rougarou name because, well, it's a Native American Rougarou legend of the skinwalker witch who turned into this, and well, that story is pretty much a combination of different stories put together, which pretty much means it's bullshit, fantasy, not real. So if a story, starts out with, especially in the northern Rougarou tribes of, the Cree, and if there's the Rougarou stories of like the down south in Georgia and Louisiana and stuff, that's more French heavily influenced and stuff. And I'm not sure, I've not studied that kind of Native American culture enough to. I'm pretty sure they don't use the Rougarou name because a lot of the information says it comes from the northern tribes. But when I've heard Rougarou stories of of the southern states talking about their tribes, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure their tribes aren't, didn't have that same Rougarou name where they were throwing around there. So that's why it's like there's a lot of hybridization with the lores and legends of the colonial cultures of different European cultures and then different Native American cultures. And then of course when like a lot of the Native Americans were on the East Coast, and then they could put on the res, and a lot of people think like a lot of those tribes were like, oh yeah, they just lived in the Great Plains, or like they a lot of them don't understand like there's natives who live on the res, who tribes are from the East Coast, and there's tribes who are still on the East Coast who are not on the res, but because they are like on the res and stuff, and they've been indoctrinized with the and they have been mixed with together and stuff. There's some differences and stuff, because then they have res cultural legends and stuff that happens on the reg and their journeys their legends of the journeys of the Trail of Tears and what's happening on the reservations there and stuff. And some of those stories are Bigfoot and spiritual entities and stuff too. And a lot of people get associated with like the Rougarou on the reservations and stuff, and it's prowling around because of like the Navajo skinwalker on the Navajo reservations and stuff, legends. But that's happening on all the reservations of the, even though it's a Navajo legend of the skinwalkers, then it's happening on this reservation of the Potawatomi in the Oklahoma, or on this reservation, the Ojibwe up in Wisconsin, or it's kind of generalization and stereotype of just everything. But every individual culture has individual stuff that is very unique and awesome. Yeah, we can do that next Saturday and stuff. We can have part 4 of the uh, Native American misconceptions, or it could be a Native American Bigfoot, whatever, pretty much whatever you want to talk about, honestly. So that will be awesome. Let me play this and start playing some of these videos since we have them downloaded and ready to go. We, of course, have we are going to show Sabe, Gitchi Sabe, from 2 different native elders. And then we're, I don't know, jump around a little bit. All right, looks like that's ready to go. Video file.
This teaching is about honesty. The symbol of honesty is the sabe, which represents this law and reflects the understanding of honesty. The elders say that when you are honest and have nothing to hide or be ashamed of, your spirit is the size of the sabe. When you lie or do something that is not good and hide it from people, it affects your spirit, not allowing it to grow strong. It does not feel good when you know you have done something wrong and hidden it. When one does this, it eats away at your conscience and it affects how you feel. So in order to have a good spirit, you must be honest to ourselves and to others. To be truly honest was to keep promises one made to others and to oneself. Honesty is the best policy. Do not lie, steal, or gossip. Keep your life simple and speak the truth. Be honest with yourself. Living your life in an honest way keeps things simple and peaceful. Choose honesty and kindness as your guides, and happiness will follow you.
Muted, of course. Appreciate that, Nikki. You're right on it. Yeah, sometimes I click the button and um. So as we just heard from her, uh, Gichisabe and stuff is the representation of honesty and is as we're about to watch another video. Actually, Gichisabe again. This story is thousands of years ago, and Gichisabe comes out of the woods and talks to the Native American boy who was fasting at the fire for four days. And he comes out, and of course, he bestows the teaching of honesty to the Native American boy, who gets spoken by several different creatures that come out of the woods to bestow teachings upon him. And the representation of those teachings and stuff are represented by the animals, which we played. We're going to play again a different version, but we played on the last live stream. We played a very good presentation on that. We're actually going to show that Sabe. Well, I think I'm trying. Oh. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just skip that one and go directly to the main dinner course. Because it is okay, should be ready to go. I tell you what, man. All right, so let's play this one then, because it's going to be pretty sweet. So that from her, she's a native elder. I'm not sure what tribe she's from. It was in the YouTube video, but I didn't write that information down. I don't believe she's from the same tribe that we're about to listen to in terms of the exact association. Like she's hanging out with these elders and stuff, but I am not quite sure on that. I do believe that she was a Ojibwe or some Anishinaabe, obviously, talking about the 7 grandfather teachings, but I'm not sure what state she was from. You know, the next video comes from the tribe of up in Canada and stuff. So let me get this going.
After the bear left, the young boy was startled by a large noise. Something was stomping through the bush, and it was getting louder. The boy stood on guard as the treetops swayed. Whatever it was getting closer. Then silence. The only sound that the boy could hear was the sound of something breathing. Then he noticed a pair of eyes glowing in the darkness. Using all his courage, the boy stepped towards them. Slowly, a towering being covered in hair emerged from the bush. The boy froze as this massive human-like creature stood over him.
Young man, I bring you the law of honesty. To be honest is to be someone who is trusted and who speaks with truth. To never lie and always be genuine. Say what you mean what you say, and always stay true to your values.
Long ago, there was a giant called Gichisabe. You may know him as Bigfoot or Sasquatch. The Sabe teaches us to never lie or gossip. Be honest with yourself and others. Speak from your heart and be true to your word. The young boy, mesmerized by the words shared by the large being, held his heart as Sabe vanished into the darkness. On his
and all right, so this is the website of the Turtle Lodge, www.turtlelodge.com or .org, and this was the are you guys hearing me now? Yeah, I think I got muted again. All right. So basically, I said the elder that we just listened to, he passed away. He was Dr. Dave. He passed away 2 years ago. 2 years ago in February and stuff. And so we are reading about what are the seven sacred laws. The seven sacred laws are important teachings in our culture as the Anishinaabe people, or the original people, the true people, or the people, which is what Anishinaabe means. The original people of Turtle Island, which is North America. They are ancestral values that inspire our conduct as human beings and bring us back to a relationship with the earth. The seven sacred laws, or the seven grandfather laws, are represented by seven animals. Each animal offers a special gift and understanding of how we as people should live our lives on Mother Earth. The Turtle Lodge has initiated the return and sharing of the seven sacred laws in this very special time as we search for peace. The seven sacred laws form the foundation of all Turtle Lodge programs. So I think this is and you can contact them and stuff. I might contact these guys and stuff and try to talk to some of them and stuff. So the buffalo represents respect all life on Mother Earth, respect elders and people of all races. The essence of respect is to give. So this is a very short snippet, obviously, and stuff. You can we are about to listen to a little bit more from Dr. Dave, the late Dr. Dave, late elder of the Turtle Lodge, let's continue that. Check the comments. All right, so the eagle, love, is representation of the eagle, love, where the eagle is representation of love. Always act in love. Love the creator, love the earth, love yourself, your family, and your fellow human beings. Okay. Bear. The bear is representation of courage. Listen to your heart. It takes courage to do what is right, no matter what. Of course, Sabe is the representation for honesty. Very awesome illustration here. Never lie or gossip. Be honest with yourself and others. Speak from your heart. Be true to your word. And I think it's very fascinating, that is the teaching that Gichisabe bestowed upon the boy as the teaching for his people. And now here, we are trying to chase after Bigfoots and stuff. And this Native American legends and tribes, they specifically, it's kind of laughable and stuff when we think, Bigfoot's just a more intelligent gorilla out there that is just hanging out in the woods and doing his thing. When this teachings and stuff specifically say, that is bestowed knowledge upon the native tribes but they live in the other book that we read and stuff, the Bugajawini and the Wild Men, bestowed upon the Native American hero of the same Anishinaabe culture, Wanajobo or Nanajobo, gave him knowledge to bestow upon his people and told him that, his people, the Bugajawinians, the wild people, wild men, they would live differently. They would be a different type of people. But we're a people and not, just some animal that is mysteriously, hidden from our observations still. And I find it in modern times, how, we have, Bigfoot hoaxing and being honest and telling stories and the integrity of the research, integrity of doing of everything, of all of this, comes into play. Like, I just find it fascinating. It is honesty, and we'll read that book of the Bugajawindian, his quotes that elders from, I believe, it was a Wisconsin Ojibwe tribe, which this would be the Turtle Lodge's a Canadian Ojibwe tribe. This Wisconsin native, I don't know what to call these smaller tribes or clans. I think they're called clans or families and stuff, like the Turtle Clan or Turtle Lodge and their Bear Lodge and stuff, and Eagle. And they put out the book in 1979 and talking about the Bugajawinian, and we'll read from that and stuff. And it's very fascinating because the Bugajawinian is talking about stuff that pertains to the people that will follow you after you, which is the people of the future and stuff. And very fascinating stuff with the Native American misconception, because it's not easy to find Native American legends, stories where they're saying, "Oh no, this is Bigfoot," and them saying, "Oh no, this is these are." When they say Bigfoot and stuff, they're not talking about Two-Face. They're not talking about Red Woman. They're not talking about Buckwaz, the ghost of drowned people who try to make you eat the food of ghosts, make you turn into a Buckwaz. They're not all these misconceptions. When you actually, some of these tribes and stuff, they talk about Bigfoot sightings and say that it's a harbinger of the end of times, that the sightings of Bigfoot means that the end times are coming because it is a foreshadowing, or he is a sign and stuff. And I believe that comes from some northern plains tribes, or some plains tribes, I believe. I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to find the video of that elder speaking about it and talking about it, but I believe maybe Ryan knows some of the tribes who talk about Bigfoot being a sign of the end times or Armageddon and stuff like that, which is very fascinating and stuff. So that is the Sabe Bigfoot and right here, Bigfoot Sabe. Of course, they have the beaver, which is the representation of wisdom. Everyone has a special gift. Show wisdom by using your gift to build a peaceful world. The wolf is humility. Think of others before yourself. Humble yourself to the Great Spirit, or Gitche Manitou, by being thankful. And the turtle, of course, is the representation of truth. Always seek truth. Living the truth is living the 7 teachings. Of course, you can click here for the animated web series. Let's click over to what we do and stuff. Ceremonies and gatherings. I guess what's a vision? Let's click on Vision Quest, because that's what are they saying about this? It's interesting to me. It's a rite of passage conducted each spring that enables men and adolescent boys to engage in an ancient ceremony, assisting them in the tradition from one life stage to the next, with purpose and meaning. That is pretty cool. It's true that all men and must be initiated by women to understand life's sacredness. It is true that all men must be initiated by women to understand life's sacredness, and so it is that a young man must seek a vision for himself and his community on a vision quest and be initiated by Mother Earth. Each year we make a call for young boys and men to participate in a vision quest. The boys and men take to the land and fast for 4 days and nights while they are encouraged and watched over by the elders, which is the same thing that the boy did The boy sat at the fire and fasted for 4 days and nights, and then got the 7 grandfather teachings, each one coming to him by the fire after another. Of course, Sabe coming after and appearing to him, and so that is what they are doing and stuff and talking about. So it's pretty fascinating. I'm going to be honest. After doing that and stuff, I have thought about trying to do it out in the woods, of fasting for 4 days on a camping trip, camping out there for 4 days, fasting and sitting by the fire, and maybe I get some extra Bigfoot activity or not, right? But it's very interesting and stuff that is what the story and that they have. And so let's jump into the actual 7 grandfather teachings. We're gonna listen to it from Dr. Dave, the elder himself, from the Turtle Lodge. And this is a different version from the one we heard last episode from Dr. Dave, actually. And he has passed away. He's passed away 2 years ago in February. I didn't find that out. I didn't find that out until today, which is, I find that, it sucks because a lot of these elders and stuff are getting older, and they are, going to be passing away and stuff. And there's just so much knowledge and stuff that, thankfully, the Turtle Lodge and their elders are putting it out there and stuff, because it would be a shame to lose all this knowledge and stories that are not even out here. They're just secretly held on and stuff. And if you just sometimes held on to stuff so secretly, it might die with you, and it's not going to be shared. Thankfully, a lot of websites like the website we're using, which is Native American languages.org, and the Turtle Lodge and turtlelodge.org are websites for Native Americans that put a lot of their information online to keep their culture from dying completely. And so you can learn Native American languages for free on websites by the tribes, because they want their languages to live on and to live on the internet, and for everyone to learn for free, to learn. And that's why the Turtle Lodge is so open about this stuff, because they want to keep their traditions going and teach the next generation the benefits of the 7 grandfather teachings and stuff, which they believe, and I believe, can help make you a better person and stuff. And of course, the Great Spirit, we're going to get a little biblical and stuff, they talk about the Great Spirit and stuff. And of course, the Bible talks about the living Spirit and stuff, and the Holy Spirit and stuff. It's very fascinating that a lot of the Algonquin tribes converted to Christianity very easily and stuff, as a lot of tribes. And you can read about some of the 1800 authors who were Native American born and went to white colonial school, how they saw the Great Spirit and God and Jesus as the same, and he was the son of the Great Spirit. They didn't have a hard time not integrating that or not seeing that as the same thing, which is very fascinating. So a little tidbit and stuff when they're talking about the Great Spirit and they're talking about the teachings and stuff. It doesn't come off as some pagan, evil, cannibal, I'm going to rip your heart off and sacrifice you to the sun to get the rain to, make the crops grow more. But in actuality, when you listen to some of the Great Spirit teachings and stuff, it is very fascinating and wholesome and beneficial for humanity and stuff. It is not some evil pagan demon lord who wants blood so you can make the sun from collapsing on the earth and stuff like that we have in some cultures, like the Aztecs mainly, and some other wacky doodle smaller tribal traditions. But that is a small little tangent that we're not going to get into, because that is a whole different show. All right, so let's share this. and we're going to stop it.
In the Anishinaabe world and others, the 7 sacred laws have acted as the foundation of our way of life and connection to the spirit and the land. The 7 sacred laws are represented by 7 animals that ensure our close relationship with nature. Each animal offers a special gift and understanding of how we as people should live our lives on Mother Earth. We are living in a time that we need a vision of hope based on values and teachings that can set the foundation for a change of heart. The 7 sacred laws are the foundation, and we are to live by. These laws emanate from having the spirit of kindness. It is the spirit of these 7 animals that we call upon to teach and remind us of the 7 sacred laws, beginning with the law of respect, represented by the buffalo. Respect is to be a giving and sharing, first and foremost, following the example of the buffalo, who gave its whole being for the life of the people. Love, represented by the eagle, is about loving the Great Spirit, loving the land, loving ourselves in the way we were created, and loving each other in the highest way, as the eagle brings vision that is always based on love. The essence of love is understanding with empathy and compassion. Through the unconditional love of the Great Spirit, we have all been given the ability to have vision and to make our visions come true. Courage, represented by the bear, is living from the heart and having the courage to be ourselves. It takes courage to do the right thing for the sake of the children, the way a mother bear would die before seeing harm come to her cub.
I gotta stop here and give some commentary so I don't get a strike and all that. Actually, the material I used last time got demonetized. Well, it's not demonetized, but all the monetization actually will go to Turtle Lodge and stuff, which I had no problem doing because I used their material. Using it again, I'm gonna whether it monetized or not, it doesn't matter. It goes to them. So, I think the information needs to be spread and shared, and it's very important talking about Bigfoot research and stuff and the Native American misconception, because you can't find these, especially in the Anishinaabe cultures, where they're openly going to say, Bigfoot, cannibal giants, and some of these, hairy man, little people, the pugwudgies and stuff, that these names that are just, not very commonly known about or heard about are associated with Bigfoot it's such a just misconception, and just flat out slap in the face to the Native American cultures when they distinctively talk about each entity and creature and monster or whatever as separate things than they're, Bigfoot, and they're all lumped together, like a Wendigo or some of these stonecoats who are witchcraft golem created monsters that have jewels in the side of them. And Wendigos sometimes are ice monsters created by spiritual possession that have the body of the person or a baby or an ice crystal in the middle of it that has to be melted or killed or destroyed or burnt. And the stone coats of the Iroquois and the Cherokee talk about the stone golem with a magical jewel in the middle that has to be destroyed and stuff. So there's not really, I don't think, talking about Bigfoot, right? Talking about some other cool, fantastical, mythological, crazy stuff that, here in the modern time. I mean, I don't even go after that kind of stuff, like, Native American witchcraft and all that. And I don't do that kind of stuff. I'm kind of stay away from all that kind of stuff because I think it's all bad juju and not what I should be doing, because that's what my God tells me to do. And even the Great Spirit tells you not to do it's those evil things and stuff. So when there's a whole there's a bunch of things and stuff. I was actually out Bigfooting all today. I was actually out there for like 5.5 hours before I come back home and getting the show all kind of ready. And I was actually out there and had nothing happen, unfortunately, which sucked because I was at the place where me and James had the tree knocked over and stuff. So I was really hoping things would happen, but nothing happened. But scouted around some new places, some new areas, found some good spots, and maybe next time. But I was looking at a little body of water and just imagining the stories of Native American lake monsters and the horned serpents and things like that. And it's just like, it's just there's a whole host of different things that were supposedly on the land back then that we just don't we don't have modern sightings of. We only have really just Bigfoot and some other stuff. But the whole list of Native American monsters and creatures and shapeshifter things that we don't seem to encounter, but we have a list of different, like Dover demon and different cryptids of each state, and some of them fit into the Native American categories, but some of them are like modern creatures and modern legends that have been born that have no Native American background but are in America or North America and stuff. Yeah, next Saturday, 10 p.m. if that works, Eastern. It's 10 p.m. Eastern for me, if that works. If you need 9 p.m. Eastern or a little earlier, we can do earlier. Of course, Ryan says, drives me nuts when people say Dogman is a big part of tribal beliefs. Similar creatures are spoken of, but they aren't depicted as Dogman. I believe, and that's because of the Navajo skinwalker traditions, and then there is the dog soldier misconceptions and legends, and there's some dog soldiers and tribal warriors who were called dog soldiers, and I think I've read some dog soldiers in Michigan and stuff, and they were like tribal warrior names, and but there is no like Dogman legends and shape-shifting Native American warriors in all of the North American tribes. There's like one or two or a handful of tribes that actually talked about things like that. Okay, awesome. So tomorrow, next Saturday, regular time schedule, 10 p.m. Eastern, we will have Ryan, Let the Monsters In with Ryan. And we will be talking about more Native American Bigfoot and Native American Bigfoot misconceptions, because it kind of goes hand in hand. So depends as the stone coats are concerned. The Janasquas are various depictions, kind of like the Gookways and the Janasquas. Some stories put them as Sasquatch, depending on the others. Sometimes they're ogre creatures. Some Native American talks about the ogre creatures, or the ogre creature is a European definition of the description of the Native Americans are trying to describe to the colonial authors and who are writing down the oral traditions and stuff. So when you see ogre and stuff, you know, I'm not sure if that's the Native American description or if it's the English translation description and stuff. So, and some of these giant Bigfoot ogres are 20, 30 feet tall, 50 feet tall, 100 feet tall, 150 feet tall. Some of these stories are 250 feet tall giants who are, and some giants are the size of mountains, you know, which, you know, puts them in the category of like Nephilim giants who are, and things like that, which I find very fascinating. And some similarities, a bunch of similarities and think with things like that. But when it comes to the Bigfoot, and it's not very easy to find a lot of tribes who will actually recognize some of these evil cannibal giants and Bigfoot as one of the same. And the Anishinaabe and some tribes, not all the clans and stuff, I'm not sure, agree and stuff, because I know of the 7 grandfather teachings where honesty is represented by Sabe. I know that some clans have honesty represented by Raven and stuff. So depending on the clans and stuff, I'm not sure if they're comfortable putting out stuff, or, you know, each clan and stuff is different and it's complicated, right? That's why you gotta like dive into a bunch of stuff. And even two Ojibwe tribal clans like Eagle Clan or Bear Clan or different clans might have slightly different interpretations, and then might change it. One might have Raven and stuff. So, but overall, when you look at all the Anishinaabe tribes and each one, and you look at all the stories and stuff, and you put them all, the telephone game and the different dialects and pronunciations that each tribe did and stuff, you know, you can put the whole picture together, and it's pretty much the same. It is the same story that each tribe is talking about. And it's very fascinating that they talk about the Sabe, and as we're about to listen to.
Honesty, represented by Sabe or Bigfoot, is being honest with ourselves, speaking and living our truth from the heart. Honesty is refusing to lie or engage in gossip about others. Honesty is being true to our words. Honesty is never judging or condemning others, but to speak well of others, honoring their uniqueness within the human family. Wisdom, represented by the beaver, is about using the gift the Great Spirit gave each of us to serve and to build a strong family, community, and nation. Our gifts do not belong to us as individuals, but belong to all the people to serve the good of the nation. If the beaver did not use his gift to build, his teeth would grow long and he would die. Similarly, if we do not use our gifts in a good way for the benefit of the earth and the brothers and sisters of our nations, we too would die spiritually. Humility, represented by the wolf, is about showing gratitude for life received, never overstepping the natural laws of Mother Earth. Humility is to know that not one of us is ever above or below our fellow human beings. We are all equal in the eyes of the Great Spirit. There is so much we can learn from the wolf. The teaching of humility is especially important for the leaders of our nations. The teaching of truth is represented by the turtle. Our motherland is referred to as Turtle Island. To know and live truth is to walk and live all the 7 sacred laws. Living truth means living in the spirit of respect, love, courage, honesty, wisdom, humility, and truth. It is when we live truth that we will know peace and find the truth of our humanity. Our spiritual constitution is written on the turtle. The turtle lives in the water and on the land to remind the whole world of the truth we should be living by. The animals that represent the 7 sacred laws ensure that we have a close relationship with the land and an alliance with nature. The animal world are our brothers. They live with each other in harmony and bring us teachings. When one is able to walk the spirit of these 7 sacred laws is when one becomes truly free. It is then that one receives the full support of the universe and the forces of the earth itself.
Of course, that was fantastic stuff by Dr. Dave, the late elder from Turtle Lodge, who I suspect from a lot of stuff on the YouTube and that website and the most recently, all the stuff that he talks about right here in the presentation we watched of the Sasquatch and the boy, was because of him. I'm sure he was a big proponent on putting this information out freely for everyone to listen to and openly talking about Sabe, Bigfoot. And those are the 7 sacred laws or the 7 grandfather teachings, as because they're often referred to as the 7 grandfather teachings, the 7 sacred laws. The same thing they're talking about. Again, different tribes, different clans are speaking about the same thing, but they're 7 sacred laws, 7 grandfather teachings. So we're going to jump over here to look at some more stuff from the Anishinaabe tribal legends. And these stories are thousands years old, and yet, modern science and, who don't look at Bigfoot in any sort of way would say, oh, well, this is a Native American mythology, and the Bigfoot is a representing of the wild man spirit himself of the woods, and blah 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 blah, discrediting all oral traditions or beliefs and our modern research of there are something out there, right? Natives talk about it, and the Anishinaabe cultures, which is the northern Midwest and Michigan and New England and Canada. I like to say Canada, tribes and stuff. The Anishinaabe people, or the Algonquin language speaking tribes. Let me get this up and ready. We're going to look at the prophecy of 7 fires, and then we're going to look at the grandfather book of the Anishinaabe, of this particular Ojibwe clan put out. We're going to talk, and we're going to show you the Bugajawinian page of where the cultural hero meets a Bigfoot wild man, and the wild man tells him and talks to him and gives him information for the people of the future, or the people who will come after you. And in this book, I believe, also has the prophecy of 7 fires, which we can listen to and look. And yes, those teachings are quite beautiful. And They come from the Great Spirit and stuff. And when I hear that and stuff, I think there's some passages and stuff, God talks about how you will hear me by my, you will know me by my name. You'll know me by my works and stuff. You will hear me. It resonates with me that that's just, one and the same. They're talking about the Great Spirit, the Holy Spirit, the living Spirit. Of course, they're talking about God as a living spirit and very spiritual stuff. I find it fascinating, but that is totally different subject to get into. And so this is the prophecy of 7 fires of the Anishinaabe. And you could look this up, and there are, of course, different websites with slightly different variations or smaller text, larger text. We're going to read this one, and then we're going to look at the grandfather book or the Mishmamas book, and then of the Book of Jewinian. And then we're going to, I believe they have the 7 grandfathers or the prophecy of 7 fires that we are going to read about in that book, and maybe there will be some slight variances. I'm not quite sure because I've not read that one yet. Been busy last couple of weeks, so I'm not able to dive into much of the research on this as I would like to, but I was able to get out today. And like I said, not much happened, but it is scout around for new places, and the more time you get out there and put yourself out there, more likely stuff's actually going to happen. So can't expect everything to happen every single time you go out there, but it's good to get out there. And just because nothing happened this time, I think that means that something will happen one of the next times, right? Get all these get all the non fun ones out of the way, and we can have some fun ones. So the prophecy of the 7 fires of the Anishinaabe. Of course, so when I first learned about this, 20 plus years ago, I don't know, I would say the 4th grade, I guess. So a lot of years ago, learning about Michigan Native American cultures, and the Ojibwe, the Potawatomi, and the Ottawa are the 3 main groups who were all Anishinaabe tribes. They were all sister tribes who were the Anishinaabe, and they lived and migrated through Michigan. And so I learned about this decades ago, 2 decades ago, I would say. And has always fascinated me, and I would love to share this with you guys. So the prophecy of 7 fires of the Anishinaabe. Then 7 prophets appeared to the people. The first prophet told the people that in the time of the first fire, they would leave their homes by the sea and follow the sign of the Magus. They were to journey west into strange lands in search of an island in shape of a turtle. This island would be linked to the purification of the earth. Such an island was to be found at the beginning and at the end of their journey. Along the way, they would find a river connecting 2 large sweet water seas. This river would be narrow and deep, as though a knife had cut through the land. They would stop 7 times to create villages, but they would know their journey was complete when they found food growing on the water. If they did not leave, there would be much suffering, and then they would be destroyed. And they would be pursued and protected. They would be pursued and attacked by other nations along the way, so they must be strong and ready to defend themselves. The second prophet told them they would recognize the second fire because they were camped by a sweet water sea. They would lose their direction, and that the dreams of a little boy would point them back to the true path, the stepping stones to the future. And of course, there is stories and more about how all of this has come to pass in each of these fires and stuff, which are more different stories that you could actually read and get into. The third prophet said that in the third fire, the Anishinaabe would find the path to the lands prepared for them, and they would continue their journey west to the place where food grows upon the water. The fourth prophet was two who came as one. The first told them to expect a race of people who had light skin. The future of the Anishinaabe would be known by the face of the light-skinned people, would be known by the face that the light-skinned people would wear. If they came in brotherhood, they would be a time of wonderful change. New knowledge would be joined with the old knowledge, and the two peoples would join to make a mighty nation. Two other nations would join to make four, and they would become the mightiest nation of all. If they brought only their knowledge and their goodwill, they would be like brothers. The second being of the fourth prophet warned, the light-skinned race might wear the face of death, that would almost look, that would, re-say that. The second being of the fourth prophet warned, the light-skinned race might wear the face of death that would almost look the same as the face of brotherhood. If they come carrying a weapon, and if they seem to be suffering, beware. Behind this face is greed, and you shall recognize the face of death if the rivers are poisoned and the fish are unfit to eat. Very fascinating stuff. Remember, this is thousands of years old before the contact of white people. The fifth prophet said that in the time of the fifth fire, there would be a struggle between the ways of the mind of the light-skinned people and the natural path of the spirit of the many nations of the natural people. As this fire loses its heat, there will come among the people those who promise great joy and salvation. If the people accept this promise and abandon the old ways, the struggle will continue for many generations. This promise is false, and it will nearly destroy those who accept it. The sixth prophet told them that in the time of the sixth fire, it would be clear that the promise accepted during the fifth fire was false. Those who were deceived by this promise will take their children away from the teachings of the elders. The elders will lose their purpose in life, and many will become sick and die. Many people will be out of balance, and the cup of life will become the cup of grief. The seventh prophet was younger than the others who had come, and there was a glowing light from his eyes. He said there would come a time when the waters had been so poisoned that the animals and plants that lived there would fall sick and begin to die. Much of the forest and prairies would be gone, so the air would begin to lose the power of life. The way of the mind brought to the way of the mind brought to the red, black, and yellow nation by the white nation would bring danger to the whole earth. In this time, there would be a new people who would emerge from the clouds of illusion. They will retrace their steps to find the treasures that had been left by the trail. The stories that had been lost will return to them. They will remember the original instructions and find strength in the way of the circle. Their search will take them to the elders, and the new people will ask for forgiveness, and the new people will ask for guidance. But many of the elders will have walked the path of the souls to the star web. Many elders will have forgotten their wisdom, and they will not be able to help. Some of the elders will point in the wrong direction, and others will remain silent because of their fear. Some of the elders will be silent because no one has asked them for their wisdom. If the new people will trust in the way of all things in the circle, they will no longer need the selfish voice of the ego, and they will begin to trust their inner voice. Wisdom will once again be found in the dreams of the night and of the day. The sacred fire will once again be lit. The light skinned people will be given a choice between two paths. If they choose the right path, the seventh fire will light the eighth fire and the final fire of brotherhood and sisterhood. If they choose the wrong path, remaining on the path of the mind, then the destruction they brought with them will come back to destroy them. The people of the earth will experience much suffering and death. The prophecies are fulfilled, but for the seventh. So let's take a break right here and stuff. So those are the prophecies of the seven fires, prophecy of seven fires and stuff. So again, these prophecies are thousands of years old, and yet it depicts the Anishinaabe coming in contact with the white people. The fourth prophet who was two, came as one. The first told them that to expect a race of people who had light skin, and the future of the Anishinaabe, or the future of Native Americans, would be known by the right face of the right face people would wear. If they come in the brotherhood, there would be a time of wonderful change, new knowledge. But if they come with the face of death, if they come carrying a weapon, and if they seem to be suffering, beware. Behind the face is greed. And what happened? What happened to the Anishinaabe? What happened to the Native Americans of all Turtle Island, of all North America? Well, it seemed like the white-skinned race came with the face of death, and behind it was a face of greed. And what did? We destroyed the Native American cultures, pushed them and took their land. At first polluted the waters, harvested their furs, practically destroyed all Native American or all animal ecosystems on almost all the states. In fact, the last 100 years, most states have made a huge conservation efforts thanks to the DNR, or whatever wildlife national Department of Natural Resources in your state has took a huge undertaking in the last 100 years to restore animal populations and wildlife to original levels, and sometimes actually better than what they originally were in colonial times. And the prophecy of seven fires is also talking about the past that the future generations which is our generations, will face when we will come a time of great, greed, ego. I mean, you look at the world around us and everything is materialized and everything is taking us away from the natural way of things, and definitely in the Anishinaabe way, or the seven sacred teachings of how you should live. If you rewatch that and study those and live by that, it's definitely quite opposite than what the world is, and it's clear as day. And I think it's very fascinating. And I've read this and other stuff where it talks a little bit more about the pollution of the earth, a little bit more. It does talk a little bit more of each. Actually, let's get into this, because this document might actually talk about it. So let's read the rest of the document. Okay. The prophecies are fulfilled, but for the seventh. All right. Along the great salt water in the east, life was full of full and rich for the people. The Anishinaabe, or the see how that's different spelled with the Anishinaabe with is. Anyways, after the seven prophets came to them, there were many large gatherings to discuss their predictions. Many people did not want to move away from their homes with their families and began along. Many people did not want to move away from their homes with their families and begin a long migration through strange lands. Some unselfishly supported those who believed in the power of the prophecies and were ready to follow because they thought it was in some way part of the Creator's plan. One group supported the plan to follow the Magus into unknown lands of the setting sun, but they pledged to stay and care for the eastern fire of the people. They were called the Waban Ukig, the people of the dawn. 500 years later, they would be among the first to be caught in the death and suffering the light-skinned people would bring them. By the time of the fourth fire, their homes, families, and villages would be torn apart, and they would be scattered, lose their roots and their power. Today, these people are called the Abiskik. The U.S. government does not recognize their existence as a tribe. These are also my people. My great-grandmother was born in Vermont in about 1841, married a white man, and they moved to Wisconsin and then to Minnesota. They did not realize that they followed their relatives who had made the journey hundreds of years before. Many Ojibwe people lived in Wisconsin and Minnesota today. So there are discrepancies that some people will say, well, these legends are only 500 years old or hundreds of years old. And some will say, no, these are thousands of years old because they are talking about the migration of these people in North America. And they said that they came from the East Atlantic Sea and went westward. And that is how the Anishinaabe came and stuff. And so modern historians will say, well, no, there's only 500 years ago, 1500. You know, these stories are from the 1500. They're only 500 years ago. And these tribal editors will say, no, these are thousands of years old. These are talking about the very foundations of our people coming to North America itself. And the Anishinaabe come eastward to North America, not from the barren land bridge of the West. So there are speculation, of course, that they come from, Canada, then they went to the East Coast and come down, and that's when the modern Anishinaabe came to being, which was different from their ancestors, which migrated from the Western land bridge and stuff. But the Anishinaabe themselves say that they come east to North America and make their journey westward, as just like their cultural hero did, Nanojobo, which we're about to get into. All right. Okay. The people followed the great river to the setting sun, the St. Lawrence River, looking for the island shaped like a turtle. Near present-day Montreal, they found such an island, and the Magus shell rose up out of the water to greet them. When they brought the sacred fire and did many ceremonies to cleanse themselves to be ready to receive their next instructions, after some time they continued to follow the great river into a sweet water sea until they came to a roaring waterfall that spoke like thunder. They called it An-mi-ki-wabu, the place of the thundering water. Once again, the sacred Magus shell rose out of the water and greeted them, and the sacred fire was brought here. Today, the light-skinned people would call this place Niagara Falls. Of course, it's the same journey that their cultural hero took, and it's the same path that the Anishinaabe took migrating as a people, and is also a prophecy in their 7 prophecies of fire that we're reading, which is very fascinating stuff, that they have prophecies of future and stuff, which we are going to get into. So, all right. So at this time, I skipped one. Again, the people moved along another large sweetwater sea until they came to a narrow river that was cut deep into the earth. It was a river that the first prophet had described. Many people were drowned trying to cross this river. When the people were set up a village there, the sacred magus rose up out of the water to greet them. The river is today called the Detroit River. At this time, there came to be 3 groups among the Anishinaabe. Each group had a special task. One group, called the Odagwag, were responsible for providing the people with their food and supplies. They were the hunters and traders. A second group, called the Odewa Timi, were the keepers of the sacred fire as the people moved along. The third group was the faith keepers of the nation, called the Ojibwa. Today, the Odangwa is called the Ottawa or Adawa. See how this is spelled? And they want you to pronounce that Native American style? Or you just have the American style, which is Ottawa, right? Odawaga or Adawa, right? So, and that's why it's so confusing sometimes to get into the Native American names and stuff, because you can be talking about the same exact thing and it's spelled 5 different ways, and it's pronounced differently depending on which pronunciation you're using. And let me get this back up. It's hilarious. All right, so okay, so the Odangawag, or the Ottawas, and the Odewatumi, or the Potawatomi, and the Ojibwa, or incorrectly Chippewa. See, it is officially called Ojibwa or Jibwe, and also incorrectly Americanized or colonized as Chippewa. So if you see Chippewa, it is the same thing as Ojibwa, which is kind of confusing because we have a Chippewa Nation here in Michigan, or we have Chippewa Native casinos up north, and the same thing, right? Ottawa, I think they have some other spellings and stuff, English spellings. So basically, let me reread this because it's a lot easier. So this is a separate story too of these. There was actually a great war. They talk about 3 fathers basically lost 10 sons each and came to a tree, and they founded this right here. So at this time, there came to be 3 groups among the Anishinaabe. Each group had a special task. So at this time, there came a group of 3 groups among the Anishinaabe, and basically the story was there was a great war, and I'm not sure if it was among the Anishinaabe themselves, which I don't think so, or it was among other tribes on this journey, and 3 fathers from the Ojibwa, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi met together, and they formed the 3 tribes, the 3 special tasks. The first group, the Ottawa, which were responsible with the food and the supplies, they have their own special name and stuff. So, and so the Ojibwa were the elder brother of the tribe. The Ottawa, I can't remember what their title was of this pact. The Potawatomi, the keepers of the faith. Ojibwa. The keepers, the sacred keepers of the fire, were the Potawatomi, and the Ottawa had something else where they were the keepers of something else. So you had the Ojibwa were the keepers of the faith, the Potawatomi, which were the third or youngest tribe, were the keepers of the fire or the sacred fire. And I can't remember what the Ottawa were. They were the keepers of something else. And these three fathers came together and they formed these three tribes together, which were all Anishinaabe, Algonquin speaking, but they were really tight knit compared to the other Anishinaabe. The nation of the three fires is what they are commonly referred to. So they are the Potawatomi, the Ojibwe, and the Ottawa. The nation of the three fires, or the keepers of the three fires, or the three fire council, or nation of the three fires. It's talking about pretty much the same thing. They were asked to join war expeditions against the light-skinned invaders in the east, but they remained focused on their mission and their destiny, whatever that was to be. They followed their Sagwaga. I'm totally butchering that. They followed the soft whisper of the spirit, not knowing where it would lead them. At the time of the second fire, the people were encamped along the east shore of the third Sweetwater Sea. Give me a second. I just skipped around a little bit. There they searched for a way to cross the sea and to continue the journey in search of the food that grows on water. Here they stayed for a long time, establishing villages and planting gardens. In attending to basic survival needs, people began to neglect the sacred ways and soon forgot about their journey. Only a few of the elders still remembered the purpose of their migration. Then a little boy had a dream about the path of stones, which it's its own story of itself, that would lead across the rivers. They returned to the rivers that cuts like a knife and retraced their steps. There they found a chain of islands that leads across the Sweetwater Sea. Moving people by canoe, they continued their westward journey in search of the food that grows on water. On the largest island in the chain, the sacred Magus, I'm probably butchering that too, appeared to the people. I believe that is a stone. It is a type of, I'm pretty sure it's a special type of rock that we have in the lakes and stuff, and it appeared to the people rising out of the water. The island became the center of the Anishinaabe nation. The sacred fire was brought here. The sacred water drum of the Medawin society was heard again. Then the water drum was moved to the eastern shore of another Sweetwater Sea, and the sacred Magus appeared again. Here the people had their first contact with the light-skinned people, French explorers, voyagers, and traders called the Oldawa Wanige. These people brought many gifts: metal knives, axes, kettles, pots, woven clothes, coats, cloths, colored glass beads. These people came in brotherhood and seemed to be friendly and respectful of the ways of the people. These people were treated as brothers, and many of them married women of the Anishinaabe, and they were adopted into the nation. It was the beginning of the fourth fire. In the east, other light-skinned people would come wearing the face of death. These people destroyed many villages of the people of the dawn who remained along the great salt water of the east, the Atlantic Sea. They destroyed the garden paradise the Anishinaabe had tended for thousands of years. These people seemed not to know how to be in balance, and yet they believed that their way was the best and only way to live. Groups of the initial turtle. The final sign that their journey was complete, they placed tobacco on the shore as an offering to the Great Spirit or Gitchi Manitou, who had led them to this holy place. And this is still a very sacred, holy place today. They called this island Ma Maing Wan Kang. Yeah, totally butchering it, not even knowing, because this is, I know from Potawatomi pronunciation and stuff. It's a lot different than English and stuff, and I know that Ojibwe, which most Ojibwe is the one of the largest North American native tribes overall and stuff, and their way of pronouncing it is different than Potawatomi way of pronouncing it, and their pronunciation and vowels are slightly pronounced differently in word structures. So I am definitely butchering most of this, and butchering it even if I try to do it in English. This became the capital of a powerful Anishinaabe nation, and the Great Sweetwater Sea was called the Gi Des Ojibwa Gai Meng, the Great Sea of the Ojibwa, called the Gitchi Gum and Long for Foam Perm, the Gitchi Gum Hiawatha. And I'm pretty sure they're talking about Lake Superior or Gitchi Gum. The sacred Magus rose out of the waters and told them that they had reached their destination, and now they must continue to follow the path of the Spirit, so they could light the path. In the time of the seventh fire. Here they brought the sacred fire, and the sacred water drum sounded for many years. A prophecy of the fourth prophet continued to unfold. Light-skinned man in long black robes came clutching a black book to their chest and carrying something that seemed to honor the four directions. These people were impressed with the generosity and honor and the respect shown by the Anishinaabe. Still, they wanted the Anishinaabe to change their ways and accept the teachings of a man from far away. They warned that not following this book, they would not be able to walk the path of souls to the star web to join their relatives. This was very frightening to many of the people who had left their traditional ways to follow the black. This was very frightening to many of the people, and they left their traditional ways to follow the black coats and their black book. A wedge was driven between the people of the Medjugorje society and the people following the new teachings. The conflict between the people of the black book and the people of the sacred Magus split the community into two factions. They broke the circle of nation. The people scattered into smaller lakes of Wisconsin and Minnesota. I believe they're talking about the Jesuits that came over, French Jesuits and stuff. Thus began the time of the fifth fire. The wave of light-skinned people forced all native peoples into poverty on tiny reservations supported by erratic deliveries of promised supplies and equipment, false promises and narratives, of course. These were usually rotten, poor quality, insignificant to care for the needs of the people, to educate the children in the new ways. The light-skinned people took the children away from the parents and put them in boarding schools. Or in Canada, they just murdered a bunch of them as they found hundreds of bodies at some of these Catholic schools, and that's why there's a big issue. There was big issues going on and still going on with the Canadian government and Native American tribes, because they have a history of flat out murdering Canadian tribes, Native American tribes. And the queen and king came over, and a bunch of missing kids happened, and there's a bunch of missing Native American kids in Canada at these schools and stuff, which is a big issue. Put them in boarding schools far away from their homes and families, cut their hair, took away their medicine bundles, forbade the use of their native language, so the hoop of the nation was broken, taking the young people away from the medicines, the stories, the teachings, the spirit ways, the strength that had brought the spirit-filled people on the journey for more than 600 years or longer. The children were taught to walk the way of the light-skinned people. Oh, I just messed that up. I hit the wrong button. The children were taught to walk the way of the light-skinned people who thought that theirs was the superior way of progress. The superior way, the way of progress. This was the time of the sixth fire. Children turned against their parents and their grandparents. The teachings of the elders could not be heard, and the elders grew sick. They had lost their place in the circle. The circle was broken. The weapons used by the light-skins were untrue stories, racism, guns and bayonets, cannon and disease. Today the weapons are courts, attorneys, textbooks, and schools that teach propaganda as history, movies and television that portray the way of native people in a shallow way, and sometimes guns and bayonets. And I just messed that up again. Fulfilling the seventh fire prophecy, which is now. Now is the time of the seventh fire. By the light of the seventh fire come the Okichi Doag, Okichi Dag. Those who would use their power and strength with wisdom and gentleness to bring harmony and balance. They will soar with the Wabi-Iski Guinea, the white eagle. By the light of the seventh fire, those who would use their power and strength with wisdom and gentleness to bring harmony and balance, they will soar with the white eagle, bringing wisdom of spirit with the first light of day. They will learn of the power and strength like the Gidzi Makwa, the great bear who holds ice and snow in the north so the earth will not be covered in water. And they will open their minds and heart like the turtle who offered his back upon which to build a new earth. I know that was kind of long and stuff, but that is pretty much what the prophecies of fire are. And there are other variations that go into it more, and I would say and give a little bit more detail about some of the choices and stuff, which is right now, which we are in. So we are in the last fire. We have a choice. We can continue to pollute the earth with pollution and greed and materialism and taken away from our true selves and our spiritual selves, which is not like that, and or going down the road of going back to the old ways, or finding um, a way to change the path that we're on, so we can build a better society, a better utopia, and not destroy the world. And now we have AI, we have diseases, we have manufactured bioweapons and biolabs that are militarized on purpose. And I remember decades ago, Nat Geo and History Channel all came out with deadly bioweapons that we have and the Russians have, and they have their own variations of different stuff that are all bad. And we nowhere else in the time period have we had such magic to build a society of a better world, or to flip the switch and destroy ourselves with nuclear bombs, diseases, bioweapons. I mean, you name it. So really gets into the point where we have to go back and humble ourselves and actually find not let the evil destroy the world. And all it takes is for one good person to say nothing, and evil can flourish. So I think regardless of anything, I think it's very interesting that they have these prophecies of the white people and of the future will seemingly happen to the Native Americans, and the choices that we have now of going back to the elders, of relearning and retracing their steps, humbling ourselves and stuff. And it's kind of funny that the 7 fires right here said fulfilling the 7th fire, those who would use their strength and power with wisdom and gentleness to bring harmony and balance. That's kind of like what does it say in the Bible about the meek? The meek shall inherit the earth. What is meek? I believe the definition of meek would be those who actually have power and strength, and I believe know how to use the sword, but choose not to. Is something to agree with that, which is very fascinating and kind of very similar to what the Bible says in that particular verse. That I'm kind of, I guess, misquoting and stuff because I don't have it in front of me, and I'm not quite the Bible thumper that I can just pull it up and remember it and all that. But I find it the similarities to some of the stuff that they say, and some of the stuff that I think as a person, that is good coming from something that is good. The very distinction of good and evil is apparent to some people, not apparent to others. And some stuff, some knowledge and stories and things that you hear, I think you understand and resonate with a place that you know. All right, so we're gonna show the grandfather book now, as I have that ready, and we're gonna show the Bugajawinian, and then we're gonna probably cut it off around 3 hours because I don't want to go too longer than that. And so for those holding on, still watching and stuff, this is the grandfather book. Let's take a look. And this is the Mishamos book, or the grandfather book, the voice of the Ojibwa, or Ojibwe, or sometimes Ojibwe is spelled with W-A-Y at the end, or W-E at the end, or Chippewa. It's all the same. It's all the same. But there's sometimes confusion. So this book is dedicated to all the students of the Red Schoolhouse, past, future, and present. And this is the acknowledgement of the elders. Comes from the words passed down from the grandfathers and grandmothers. The authors wishes to recognize the contribution of the elders from the reservations in Wisconsin. Another thing to note of the Anishinaabe and Ojibwa tribes is that the grandmothers and women have a very particular role in passing down sacred teachings and stuff, and that they are regarded as holding holding wisdom and stuff, and are always to be respected. They sing sacred songs that only women are taught and are generally taught and are passed down. It is known that they are the grandmother teachings, or teachings and sacred songs that are taught to women and are learned and respected and stuff, as women have a very important role in Native American societies among the Anishinaabe people. In fact, Nanojobo, the cultural hero of the Anishinaabe, he marries a woman who was a keeper of the fire and stuff. She was regarded as too, regarding her as a very important role. Of course, there's many stories we could get into, but women, had very sacred, religious, important roles in the Anishinaabe cultures, at least from what I can talk about, which is not what the stereotypical, basically slave women, and you would take all the women you would want, and you would have many wives and slaves and all that. It's more complex and intricate than we ever were taught about and was ever put into these Western movies. And it's very despicable that when you say savages and stuff, that is just totally despicable to even think about associating with Native American tribes of North America. As a thought for a future show, maybe discuss how long both humans and Bigfoot have been in the Americas. Many recent discussions that humans have been in the Americas far longer than I thought. Yeah, they keep finding Native American artifacts that push the timeline of humans in North America continent far, far back. In fact, they found some of the oldest human evidence in the Western Hemisphere in South America, which would mean that for them to journey, the theory of them walking through the land bridge all the way to South America, and now they're finding that some of the oldest artifacts being in South America pushes the whole timeline back thousands of freaking years old. And a lot of scientists don't like to accept that, or it's shattering what has been the standard foundation for decades now. I think we might be able to answer some of that as well. This story that we're gonna breeze through real quick actually does kind of lead us to a timeline. So in this book, you have the 15 chapters, or 15 different stories. And so you have chapter 13, the 7 fires. I wonder if that is the 7th fires of prophecy that we just read. The migration of the Anishinaabe, the creation story, the original man walks the earth, original man and his grandmother, or the Earth's first people. Of course, the Great Flood story that they have. Nanajobo or Wanajobo, same thing. And the search for his father, which is the story we are going to get into. The 7 grandfathers and the little boy, I suspect, is the 7 grandfather teachings, and which will have, I believe, honesty in that. So let's skip around a bit, as this book is fascinating. Of course, Native American, the Anishinaabe have their own flood story. And their cultural hero, Nanojobo, who basically gets on a log or a canoe and saves all the animals. And actually, two of the animals sacrifice their lives to dive down and to bring back the land. They go back and to grab some earth and bring it back up so they can restore the land. And that's a fascinating story, of course. Of course, right here, the musquat and there was other ones, but anyways, the Nanajibo or Wanajabo, Nanajibo from the Potawatomi stories is with an N, Nan, and the Ojibwa or the more Western Anishinaabe, say and spell the same guy with a W, Wana, Nanajibo. That's how I have always learned and pronounced it. And anyways, it's easier for me to say it that way. So the firekeeper's daughter, which was ended up being his wife, the firekeeper's daughter. All right, so let's skip this because basically Nanojibo in this story, he takes the same migrational path that the Anishinaabe would eventually take. And he takes the same journey, and he speaks to the buffalo, he goes to the Rocky Mountains, he speaks to the bear, and then he encounters something else. When Nanajibo last descended from the mountains, he okay, so Nanajibo walked around till he came to another range of mountains, not quite as tall as the Rocky Mountains. He journeyed without resting until he came to a forest of giant trees that were so tall that he could not even see their tops. Talking about like the redwoods, I would be assuming. He could walk no further. Basically, he dozed off, but soon awoke with a start as if someone or something had prodded him. He looked around slowly, even though he did not see anything. He knew that he was not alone. Suddenly, he noticed that just out of his direct eyesight was a being, a huge dark figure with red eyes. I think that's pretty key thing. Let me get this bigger so you guys can see. It had red eyes, and what do we describe now? We describe red eye shine, right? Red eye glow. Red eyes that peered out of a shadowy face. So this is the illustration and stuff, okay? Again, he felt his fear rising. So this is talking about how he felt his fear rising. He felt of the thought of defending himself, of fighting, but violence was unknown to the world at this time. So this was probably a very old story from a time where violence was unknown to the world, right? He was able to control both his fear and terror, but still he felt a new strange sensation. What was the new strange feeling that possessed him? For the first time in many years, violence was evident on the earth. But Nanajibo, it was only a thought. He was able to put it aside. Violence, which was the twin of peace, must always be secondary, subservient. Let me get this brighter or zoom in so I can see it better. Violence, which is the twin of peace, must always be secondary and subservient to peace, just as it was with Nanajobo. The shadowy being spoke. The Bigfoot spoke. I am Bugajawinian. I did actually practice that one. And I am Bugajawinian, wild man. Some of the people who follow you, some of the people of the future, some of the people who follow after you in time will know me as Sasquatch or Yeti, but they will seldom see me. It will be forbidden for them to look into my eyes. Some will not ever know of me. Many will not believe that I exist. I am your eldest brother. These are in quotation marks and stuff, if you guys can see. I find it very fascinating that this book is put out by this Wisconsin reservation of the Ojibwe there, and these whatever specific clans there, recognized by this is an author who was a Native American activist and recognized and acknowledged by all those elders that we showed at the beginning of the book that read this book and acknowledged and stood behind the information that this book is telling us, right? This is the story. This is their legends. This is their information. This is their sacred stories of their cultural hero. Just like the sacred fires, the same migration, this is all connected and stuff. This is what the Bugajawinian is supposedly has told their cultural hero thousands of years ago. So he says, I am Bugajawinian, wild man. Some of the people who follow you will know me as Sasquatch or Yeti, but they will seldom see me. It will be forbidden for them to look into my eyes. Some will not ever know of me. Many will not believe that I exist. I think that perfectly describes Bigfoot, right? That describes most of us not seeing them, most of us not, most mainstream people not even believing. I am your eldest brother. I have been with you on your journey. I have been ahead of you at times and behind you at times. Sometimes I have watched you walk by. The creator sent me here to guide and care for those who become lost. I am to watch over those who go into the forest, swamps, hills, and mountains to gather medicines and other things. So that is a key thing right there. If those who seek the medicine roots, bark, and berries will ask me in a good way, if their thoughts are good and their concern is for others, I will help them find the medicine they seek. I shall know their thoughts. Also, I am to help those who choose to meditate, pray, and fast in the Bugajawin wild and natural places. I am the caretaker of all these places, the deep forests, swamps, mountains, and deep valleys. I am natural man. Oh, didn't mean to do that. I am to be the different one, different in all ways. I shall not build a home or gather in towns, nor will I assemble with my own kind in tribes or nations. I will make no trails, nor will I build canoes. I am to be alone in the quiet solitude and majesty of the natural world of the Creator. I shall know of man's presence, and I will know his thoughts, but only the Anishinaabe shall know me. I am not to desire companionship with the Anishinaabe or others, but only the Anishinaabe shall know and honor me. I think that is pretty interesting. Again, this is some ancient legends and stories that this particular Bigfoot creature is talking about future generations and Bigfoot. And there's a reason why we're not. Maybe this is the reason. I mean, this is literally the Native American stories of a wild man himself telling us of his people, of their code of conducts when it comes to interacting with us. That they're not going to do that. Basically, they will not seek companionship. All right, so let's reread this, skim this. So, the Creator sent me to guide and care for those who become lost. I am to watch over those who go into the forests, swamps, hills, and mountains to gather medicines and other things. If those who seek the medicine roots, bark, and berries will ask in a good way, if their thoughts are good and their concern is for others, I will help them find the medicine they seek. I shall know their thoughts. Also, I am to help those who choose to meditate, pray, and fast in the wild and natural places. I am the caretaker of all these places. What is that supposed to mean? And that's where some of this stuff where he's an elder brother, a guardian of the forest, sometimes a spiritual entity and stuff, because he will later start talking about time, space, and different things, and but he does talk about a people, his people will not, which is very fascinating. Of course, he is talking about some of the people who follow you, or who follow you in the future, who come after you in time, will not see me. Some will not ever know of me. Many will not. I think that's just so interesting that they will seldom see me, which we seldomly see Bigfoot, right? But we kind of, we know he's real, right? But we seldomly get evidence. We seldomly see him. Some will not ever know of me. Some people don't even know of Bigfoot, hardly care. Many will not believe that I exist. That's literally how it is. Like, we have sightings. There's a little bit of stuff, we're after this fleeting little tidbits and information and sightings and reports and evidence and video. I mean, that is pretty damn good description of what Bigfoot in the modern time is like. But being a caretaker and keeper and watcher of the forest, and those who, again, he reads the thoughts like mind speak, right? And some encounters and stuff, they feel like, I know the one Val and stuff said that it felt like the thing was like intruding into like the very fabric of his person, or like view. It was like, he had a window into him, like he was viewing or something. Very interesting observation that he had, that I find very credible from a ex-law enforcement officer. And then what this Bugajawinian is describing to Nanojabo thousands of years ago, that survived native oral traditions and the destruction of their culture. And now we have it in modern times, where we just happen to be researching Bigfoot. And it just so happens that, if you purchase this book and you read it, there just happens to be a small little couple paragraphs worth of stories about, the Native Americans talking about the Bugajawinian, or Bigfoot wild man talking and giving prophecy to the future generations, who, like the prophecies of seven fire, will only find out if they go back and go back to the old ways and the old teachings and see what the elders have to say. Very, very interesting stuff. It's at 3-hour mark, so we are going to hurry up and skim through the rest of this. Okay, so right here it says he several times the Sasquatch or Bugajawinian says, "I will know man by his thoughts. I will know his thoughts." Several times he says, "I will know his thoughts," and he says it right here. I am also to help those who choose to meditate, pray, and fast in the wild and natural places. I am the caretaker. Right here. If those who seek the medicine, roots, bark, and berries will ask me in a good way, if their thoughts are good and their concern is for others, I will help them find their medicine. So several times they're making the reference that they can like mind speak or read your mind, which I think is, I find that hard to believe when I'm out there researching and, but I'm very open-minded, and even more so that that this legend thousands of years ago is literally saying it. So, I guess, if you want to have a better chance of success, maybe if you ask nicely and you meditate, pray, and fast in the wild and natural places, and you ask in a good way, if your thoughts are good and your concern is for others, and maybe we can have a better chance of success. It didn't really happen for me today, but maybe it's several other factors. I'm not saying this is like the proof positive Bible of what we need to do, and this is like end all be all of information and stuff. I just find this extremely fascinating and stuff that maybe you could try. It's not going to hurt, right? We do a bunch of other things now, but I just find it fascinating that this is in this book. So, little brother, I have watched you on your journey. I've known your thoughts. I will tell you of some, but not all the things that you have wondered about. And so gets into the more cryptid and weird things that this Sasquatch says to Nana Jabo. I will tell you of some, but not all of the things that you have wondered about. First, you must always treat the natural creation with respect. When you must come through my territory, honor those places with tobacco and good thoughts. Again, how many times has that been referenced? Good thoughts, of reading the thoughts. Be not in fear. In that way you shall not become lost or confused, and no harm will befall you. Be always in wonder and awe of all these natural works that you see. They are the hand and thought of the Creator, Kichimanato, or Great Spirit. These works, whether they be mountains, glaciers, waterfalls, the deepest swamps and the wildest places, should never be changed, diverted, or disturbed. They are to remain as they are now, just as I am to remain in my natural way. I think that is a key thing right there. They are to remain just as they are now, just as I am to remain in my natural way, or just as, what did he say? I am natural man. I'm the different one. I will not build. Just like he says, I will not gather in tribes, nor will I assemble with my own kind in tribes. So he's talking about more than one. He's talking about his own kind. He's talking about tribes. He's talking about they won't gather in nations or in tribes, but obviously there are more than one. He's talking about his kind. And then he says, I just as I am to remain in my natural way, that means his people are to remain in their natural way. And that means that his people, just like it says, I am not to desire companionship of the Anishinaabe or others. That means that his people, I would assume so, are not to seek companionship with the Anishinaabe or other people, right? I'm not, and the fascinating thing about this is like this Sasquatch is talking to Nanajubo, but who is this Sasquatch to his people? Like, it would be fascinating if these two figures right here are like the Sasquatches. This particular Sasquatch who talked to Nanajubo was a cultural hero of the Sasquatch culture. Because he is talking about his people and talking about things in such a way that it's very fascinating stuff, because it just makes me wonder of if Bigfoot has a culture and stuff and what they are taught and how are they supposed to, interact with us. And right here, he is laying it out for us. A very cryptid way, of course, but it's plain as day in your face. I mean, for every Bigfoot researcher who would read this book, I think they would probably shit their pants. But I'm pretty sure most all of us have not came across this book until now. Wanojabo or Nanojabo did not need to voice his thoughts as he visited with the Bugajawinian, and they conversed through the night. So what does that say? Nanojabo did not need to voice his thoughts as he visited with the Bugajawinian. He did not need to voice his thoughts. And they conversed through the night. But if he did not need to voice his thoughts, then how did they converse? Because they were mind speaking? Were they talking? He would know his thoughts. I mean, they would literally, did not need to voice his thoughts as he visited with the Bugajawinian, and they conversed through the night. The Bugajawinian continued to tell him many things that he had previously wondered about. Of course, Bugajawinian says, here upon the earth is a plane, a place marked by time. Nowhere else in the universe is time necessary. Remember that time belongs to the Creator and to none other. It is the one thing that is beyond the reach of man. None shall ever see it. Very few shall ever get to know it. Do not concern yourself with it. If you do, it will become an obsession, and in the end, you will be a slave to it. And here are quotation marks. I know of many things that have puzzled you. The time that you looked into the sky and wondered about the clouds. The time you felt the raindrops on your face. Let me get that bigger for you guys. The raindrops on your face and looked into the distance to see rain falling in torrents. The time you felt the warm and cold draughts of air sweep across their face. The time you saw the heat dancing in waves over the plains. Here upon the lap of our Mother Earth is a place and time that hangs between 8 levels of elements. These elements are unseen, but are as real and necessary for life as the water you drink. Of these 8 elements, 4 are above the earth and 4 are below the earth. These elements are the things that must work together if life itself is to be. All these things working together lift the water into the clouds. Your oldest uncle, the wind, then blows the water to where it is needed, to where it falls to the ground to nourish the grasses, flowers, and other beings who are dependent on it for life. Beyond this, there are elements that work together to change the seasons. The seasons are evidence of time. Someday when the time comes according to the Creator's plan, the cup of life will be measured by time. But even through time will be a part. But even though time will be a part of life, life cannot exist without the other things we have spoken of. Remember, the cup of life is water, and the cup is measured by time. If you should climb to the highest place, you should feel the absence. If you should climb to the highest place, you will feel the absence of the air which is necessary to draw into your body in order to live. Likewise, if you would go into the earth, soon it would get pitch black, and there would be only poisons to breathe and draw into your body. As you walk on your journey, remember that there is a purpose to all things. There is a reason for the gentle rains and the gentle winds, as well as their opposites. Accept these things I give you. The evidence is all around you. See it, know it, accept it. Accept this knowledge as a way of knowing. Accept it as you accept the knowledge of your own shadow. When your shadow is cast on the ground, you are able to see it. But even though you do not see it at times, you know that your shadow is still there. Your shadow represents your relationship to the grandfather sun and the four directions, and thus to the universe. It is time for you to continue your journey. I will be with you, little brother, wherever your steps may take you. There is one last thing I wish to leave you, and then we shall never talk again. You have a twin brother, whom you are wondered about, and whom you would seek. This I tell you, he is the other side in all things, in all ways. He is with you. Do not seek him. Do not wish to know him. Do not, but understand him. You will walk the path of peace. He will not. You are kind. He is not. You are humble. He is not. You are generous. He is not. You seek the good in things. He does not. You shall respect others. He will not. You will seek the goodness in others. He will not. You are the light. He is the darkness. I know that he is with you. Know that he is with you. Understand him, but do not seek him. With that, Bugajawinian left Nanajobo and vanished like a shadow into the woods. Nanajobo sat under the great tree, pondering all the things he had just received. His thoughts were interrupted by a humming sound. Of course, this story continues. I think there's some very interesting things here where it says, someday, when the time comes, according to the Creator's plan, the cup of life will be measured by time. And that comes to very biblical stuff of the cup of life and the judgment at the end of time. It's very fascinating stuff, that you can, that this story that this Bigfoot tells Nanajobo, or the Native American cultural hero of the Anishinaabe people, which is hundreds to 1,000 plus years old, or thousands, 10,000 years old story, talking about Bigfoot, his people, and how they will be a different person, a natural man. They will not congregate. They will not be in cities. They will leave no trail. They will not seek companionship to us. Many people will, some people will know about Bigfoot. Many people will never know about Bigfoot, and most will not even believe. That story and legend and old sacred story that's been passed down for generation and generation and generation has a lot of tidbits that in the modern Bigfoot research and modern Bigfoot stuff, it's kind of slapping us in the face right there a little bit. Now, I'm not quite sure when the Bugajawinian is quoted, and it says, right here, quotation, "I am Bugajawinian." Wow. I don't know if the "I am Bugajawinian" is and then some of the people who follow you will know me as Sasquatch or Yeti. I am not sure if that is the original thing that Sasquatch tells Nanajubo, or if the elders put this in there or not. I'm not quite sure. You'd have to contact the elders and get the real interpretation. I'm not sure if the author is still alive or not. But it is verified and put out there by the elders. He was an elder who wrote this. He was an elder from that reservation, as long with all the list of elders who approved of the book, who read the book, who stand by the book. So either the Bugajawinian really said that thousands of years ago, or the Native American elders put that into the book as that they are telling us that is what he said and stuff. I'm not quite sure what the interpretation of that is and stuff, but I find it very interesting that they are allowing this information to be released, or did back in 1978, 79, and that this is the real Bigfoot misconception, is that it is not some big giant hairy cannibal eating giant who can be found in all tribes, but yet you can find some very interesting Native American Bigfoot stories that are hidden away in a book that has nothing to do with Bigfoot or nothing to do with Native American monsters and legends about creatures and stuff. But in fact, you can find one of the most amazing pieces of Native American stories about Bigfoot in a book that has nothing to do with Bigfoot, and I find it one of the most fascinating stuff that I've come across, that I had no idea that it was actually going to be in there, and come across this and do this. And so very fascinating stuff from the Grandfather book. The Grandfather book, The Voice of the Ojibwe, by Edward Benton Banney. I'm probably butchering that last name. He was a Native American activist and elder for the particular Ojibwe tribe of the Wisconsin reservation right there. And so these are all the Native American elders right here that he acknowledges. And give me a second. And so, basically, this is not a crackpot book full of bullshit and just stuff that's put crap and whatever. So here is the kind of the migration route, where they went down the St. Lawrence River and then the Ottawa River, but they actually went up and followed this. And there is the Madeline Island, or the Sacred Island, I think, right there. But let's skip around to the Seven Sacred Fires, or the Seven Fires on page 90, and page 61, the Seven Grandfathers and the Little Boy. I wonder if that is the same story or not. I am going to skip around for a second. Okay, so this is talking about the 7 grandfather teachings. So now this one is totally different than what we heard from Dr. Dan and his and these are both Ojibwe stories, where already there are actually 7 grandfathers that actually teach this little boy. And right here it says, and the boy took turns carrying the bundle. Along the way, they stopped 7 times, and each stop a spirit came and told the boy the meaning of the 7 gifts that were given to him out of the vessel of the grandfathers. So already this story is still talking about the same grandfather teachings, but it is telling it in a totally different way than what the other person and other teaching is teaching you, which is commonly found in Native American tribes and clans in particular ways. Not surprising. Unfortunately, I don't think that they're going to have the representation of Sabe as honesty in this for this book, which I don't know. I find it a little odd that they had the Bugajawinian thing in there, and then they don't have a Sabe and honesty. But that is okay because this is their own story and stuff, which is just as important, and shows the different sides and spectrums that is Native American cultures and stories. That you could read the same story, a handful of different ways, and told by same Ojibwe tribes. That one's in Wisconsin, one's in Canada, and one will talk about the animals that are associated with the knowledge and the representation of Sabe as honesty, or you'll have different tribes that will totally just skip the animal parts, and they will say, at each stop, a spirit came and told the boy the meaning of the 7 gifts, which would be the spirit of the animals that represent wisdom, love, respect, bravery, and honesty, humility, and truth. The spirits taught the boy that for each gift there was the opposite. And so this probably has more information, more details and stuff about the story. But we're not going to get into that right now because we don't have enough time, and I just wanted to skip around to see if it had the Sabe or some illustration of Sabe. Now we're going to go to the 7 fires. So we'll see if that has some other information that might be interesting. But I am going to skim through. Yep. So, The accounts of our life that have been handed down by us, by our Ojibwe elders, tell us that many years ago, 7 major prophets came to the Anishinaabe. They came at a time where the people were living a full and peaceful life on the northern or northeast coast of North America. These prophets left the people with 7 predictions of what the future would bring. Each of these prophecies was called a fire, and each fire referred to as a particular era of time that would come in the future. And thus, the teachings of the 7 prophets are now called the teachings or the 7 fires of the Ojibwe, or the teachings of the 7 fire, or the 7 fire prophecies. I want to skip and go to the last 6th and 7th fire. When the 6th fire came to be, the words of the prophet rang true as the children were taken away from the teaching of the elders, the boarding schools of the civil. Yep. In the confusing times of the sixth fire, it was said that the group of visionaries came among the Anishinaabe. They gathered all the priests of the Miigwin Lodge. They told the priests that the Miigwin Way was in danger of being destroyed. They had gathered all the secret bundles together, scrolls that recorded the ceremonies. All these things were placed in a hollowed out log, the ironwood tree. The men were lowered. Men were lowered over a cliff by long ropes. They dug a hole in the cliffs and buried the log where no one could find it. Thus, the teachings of the elders were hidden out of sight, but not out of memory. It was said that when the time came that Indian people would practice their religion without fear, that a little boy would dream where the ironwood log full of sacred bundles and scrolls was buried. He would lead his people to the place. The seventh prophet that came to the people long ago was said to be different from the others. He was young and had a strange light about his eyes. See, so now even like this one, this already has more information and different information about the seven fires, and so apparently there's secret knowledge buried in a log inside down a cliff. All right, so the sorry, I've been skim this. They will retrace their steps to find what was left by the trail. Their steps will take them to the elders who ask to guide them on their journey. But many of the elders have fallen asleep. They will awaken to this new time with nothing to offer. Some of the elders will be silent out of fear. Some of the elders will be silent because no one will ask them anything of them. The new people, let me do this so you guys can see that better. If the new people will remain strong in their quest, the water drum of the Midowin Lodge will again sound its voice. There will be a rebirth of the Anishinaabe nation and a rekindling of the old flames. The sacred fire will again be lit. It is at this time that the light-skinned race will be given a choice between two roads. If they choose the right road, the seventh fire will light the eighth and final fire, an eternal fire of peace, love, and brotherhood and sisterhood. If the light-skinned race makes the wrong choice of the roads, then the destruction which they brought with them in the coming to this country will come back to them and cause much suffering and death to all Earth's people. The traditional Madrid people in Ojibwa and people from other nations have interpreted the two roads that face a light-skinned race as the road to technology and road to spiritualism. They feel that the road to technology represents a continuation of the headlong rush to technological development. This is the road that has led modern societies to damage and shear earth. Could it be that the road to technology represents the rush to destruction, the road to spirituality represents the slower path to traditional native people that have traveled and are now seeking again. The earth is not scorched on this trail. The grass is still growing there. The prophets of the fourth fire spoke of a time where two nations will join together to make a mighty nation. He was speaking of the coming of the light-skinned race in the face of brotherhood that the light-skinned brother could be wearing. It is obvious from the history of this country that this was not the face worn by the light-skinned race as a whole. If we natural people of the earth could just wear the face of brotherhood, we might be able to deliver our society from the road of destruction. We could make the two roads that today represent two clashing worldviews come together to form that mighty nation. Could a nation be formed that is guided by respect for all living things? We are a nation. Are we the new nation of the seventh fire? I don't know. I think we're standing right here. And with all the pollution and AI and war, greed, destruction, sexual transgenderism, impulse, everything. And compared to this side, which says going back to the old ways, or the seven grandfather teachings, honestly, is the best, one of the best representations of this side compared to greed or the seven sins. The seven grandfather teachings are the seven sins, right? Very fascinating stuff. I'm definitely going to have to jump into this more. I should have had more time to do it before this, but I'll definitely get it before the next live show with Ryan. We're going to cut the show off right here. Hopefully then didn't bore too many people out. It is fascinating stuff. It is a lot of stuff to go through. It is kind of complicated, and there's a lot of stuff that you could dive off into, and sometimes I get into a tangent to try to explain a bunch of stuff because there's a lot of context that needs to be going together when you talk about these stories and different things that go on. But the biggest premise is finding real Bigfoot Native American stories where they actually accept the creature as being Bigfoot is very far and few between. This narrative that all the native stories have Bigfoot stories, all the native tribes have Bigfoot stories, is a misconception. Now, I have told stories and read stories and heard stuff that I'm trying to refine now that talk about Native American tribes trading with what they said with Bigfoot. And I remember a particular guy talking about them. Their particular tribe would make the baskets for the Bigfoot because the Bigfoot could not intricately weave the basket fibers to make the basket themselves. And what would happen is that they said these Bigfoot would put some of these kids in the baskets, and women and children would eat the kids or whatever, that they stopped trading with them and stuff and would stop making baskets. But I'm having a lot harder time finding that particular story and documentation than I remember. So finding real old Native American stories. I remember reading a story about a Native American woman, an older woman, I believe she was up in Alaska, who came across a hurt Bigfoot, and she healed him up, and he basically would put food basically where she found him on this stump, and that he would give her food. I think it was every full moon. There would be food placed here, or every month. Sorry, getting little hiccups and stuff. And he said, I would continue to do this until the time where there would be until the time where you would come across the stump and there would be no food left. There would be no food there, and you would know that I have passed on. And years followed, and there would be food on this particular stump, and this older Native American woman would get the food until one particular time there was no food there, and she had known that Sasquatch had passed on, just like he had told her he would do this for her until he had passed on. And that story, it spoke in the native languages and stuff. So All right. I appreciate everyone for jumping on. I'm sorry I didn't get to some of the last comments. Robert Dover. I don't know if you're still watching. Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson have talked about this, plus a catastrophe around 10,000 years ago, around the Younger Dryad period on Earth. Yeah, there were several different disasters, and he talks about it. He talks about Graham Hancock talks about the possibility of huge Amazonian. Like the conquistadors said, they were all these temples of gold and temples and civilizations in the Amazon, and then when the very first conquistadors went to there, they said they seen all these temples and all this, and then when they Spanish came back, like was it 100 years ago or 100 years after or something, they reported jungle and no temples, no nothing, and it was thought that the diseases that the first explorers came over there, and they said there were all these cities and temples and stuff. They gave them all the diseases, and then the 100-year period or whatever kind of time period it was till they came back with more conquistadors, the diseases had wiped most of the population out, and the jungle had regrown and taken over the temples and stuff. And we do know through LiDAR technology, we have found at least one that I proof positive say that I remember them saying they found was in the Amazon, and I believe they found some in Indonesia, or speculation that they found a pyramid in one of those southeastern Asian countries. All right, so I appreciate everyone for coming on. Yes. The Great Flood, and there's several other stuff, which is very interesting. That the Great Flood myths and legends are found in a lot of cultures around the world, including Native American cultures, which is they have their own Native American style of story with the canoe and stuff. Most of the time, it's like a big canoe because they didn't have boats and stuff. They had canoes, but same story of a big flood happens, and like there's a dude on a boat or a canoe or a log who has a bunch of animals that he saves or floats on the same boat, log, or canoe as Noah. Very fascinating stuff, and there's very fascinating stuff. So there obviously, to me, like something happened. And you want to get into the details and antics of, who's who and where was it at and where did the ship land. And you're talking about dozens of different cultures around the freaking world spread out by thousands and thousands of miles, talking about a great flood and talking about a Pacific, one dude or a family who saved all the animals of the earth, so they could repopulate and stuff. Something happened. So without that, and I suggest everyone to go and check out more Native American websites and where they are presenting their own culture to you. They want to teach you guys. They want you to learn their native languages, which I believe will help you in your Bigfoot research. Right now, if you use the word Sabe, Sabe means Bigfoot. It means honesty in Native American culture. No, that means in the Anishinaabe culture, which is northern tribes. I don't mean the same thing in Florida with Florida tribes. They don't, that. So I would suggest if you want to learn Native American culture and Native American terms and languages, instead of, using Sabe for every Bigfoot thing you can think of, which doesn't apply to your state, and like Arizona, where they had specific native tribes who spoke certain languages, and Sabe wasn't one of their words. I would suggest that you look up the different tribes of your state and look and try to figure out where the tribes lived at, particular in your counties or area of research, and then you can look and try to find resources online to learn their languages, and they will have pretty much step-by-step ways to learn their languages or learn words and stuff like that, learn how to greet formal greetings and stuff, and it's all for free. And you can watch YouTube videos of people teaching you the words and pronouncing the words and doing different stuff, because a lot of the native cultures want their languages to live on, their knowledges to be spread and live on. So it's all out there for you guys to learn. And so if you're in Florida, look in some Florida tribes for your Native American languages and stuff. Don't look at the Anishinaabe up here in Michigan and expect that stuff's going to work over in Southern California or New Mexico, or it's going to work in places where the Anishinaabe tribes never were set foot ever, So like I hear, that Sabe. Oh yeah, Sabe. Yeah, Sabe means honesty. Sabe. I hear Sabe being tossed around. Well, I mean, How to Hunt guy made it pretty popular of Sabe, but you're talking about, particular dozen tribes that use that word, not the Alaskan tribes, right? Not California coastal tribes, not the Pacific Northwest tribes, not the Florida tribes, not the Georgia tribes, not all the southern tribes of the south of the Southern Americas. I mean, there's a misconception like Rougarou. That's not even a real thing. There's another one. There's another term I'm forgetting, but it's like Sabe. It's a Cherokee word, or Cherokee stuff, or OCO, or the Cherokee greeting. Like you're using the Cherokee greeting over here in Michigan and or in Anishinaabe territory. Like it's not going to work. Or you use Cherokee language over here in California, or you use Iroquois language in Alaska, or I'm gonna speak Inuit in Florida. Like I see a lot of people bouncing around different stuff and different native terms that they're picking up that they have no idea where those terms even originated, or the fact that maybe that particular term from that particular tribe on the East Coast isn't going to do nothing on the West Coast. And I should probably learn the West Coast Native American tribes and their West Coast languages to work in the West Coast. That's my thoughts. But nativelanguages.org can teach you dozens and dozens and dozens of different tribes' native languages for free. And you can buy books and you can donate and you can have other resources and stuff like that. So tune in to next week with Ryan as we talk with more Native American Bigfoot and Native Bigfoot Misconceptions. He's a great guy who puts out a lot of good content, and glad to have him on. And I think maybe we'll probably start having more people on. Maybe we'll have a round table. I know some people are a little shy to jump on, but it's all right. Not even the haters jumped on, which is funny. All right, if you guys want to email me, contact me, you can contact me, of course, through this email or Facebook, the Lost Cryptids Conservatory. I also post on the Lost Cryptids page, Facebook page, and we have a the Lost Cryptids Conservatory Facebook group. And then we have my own personal page, which I post to a lot of different groups that you might see me floating around. So other than that, going to try to get out there again and enjoy some, hopefully it's going to be crappy here in Michigan for about another week, but should be getting to be more nicer weather and hopefully get activity. Doesn't always happen, but the more times you go out there and it doesn't happen, or just odds are that eventually something will happen as we continue to bring evidence in better and better quality and share Native American insights and knowledge. I think that maybe, hopefully, we'll come closer to finding the truth or honesty of what's actually out there, what's actually happening, and what are they, and what is the secret? What is the secret that we're missing? Because it's definitely something. So, everyone, appreciate staying as long as you did. Have a good night. God bless each and every one of you. And I'll see you here on the next show.